We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Jay, will you lead us in the pledge?
Please join me in the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Jay.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, could we do a roll call, please?
Chair Bybee,
Here?
Mayor Sheeby,
Here.
Mr. Squaga,
Here.
Mr. Chapman, Mr. E,
Present.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Mr. J,
Present.
and Mr. Murdoch.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we move on to item B, I'd like to, couple of, for good of the order today, we have, we've got new members, but kind of reminder to all of us that our fancy microphone system here, which is also a camera, the green speakers here are very sensitive to sound. So any sidebar conversations we might be having, the camera will turn on you and it'll be recording. So just be mindful that even though the microphone's not in front of you, these are really sensitive. And so be aware of that. And we have something new today, Colonel Molly's. When we went away from having microphones, you could turn it on and see the light. And I would know, you know, Richard wanted to speak or Stephen did. When we went to this, you know, sometimes it's a free for all and who wants to speak. And so this was Courtney and Mike came up with, this is temporary, but we might, I don't know if we'll go fancier if this will work. So when you want to speak, you've got a light.
Okay.
And so, and if by chance you forget to leave it on, like we do in my chambers and Spark sometimes, these guys have control and can turn it off. Then turn it off again, and I know where the lights are and that people want to speak, kind of keep things a little more organized. So we have, you can shine the light, which is, yeah, I think that'll be, we'll see how it works today. Let me go on to item B, comments by the public. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
None the same.
Okay, we will close item B. And we will open, I will open item C1, which is the RSCVA board appointment of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors seat. And we have two names that the chamber has given us. We have both gentlemen here today. And I'm going to ask each of them just to come up briefly to the podium, introduce themselves, and just a couple sentences about where they work, how long they've been with the chamber. So if I could have Mr. Eddie Ablisar come up, please. Did I butcher your last name?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Eddie Ablisar. I moved to Northern Nevada about 8 years ago. I spent over a decade in politics in Arizona. My wife is from Carson City, and we moved to Northern Nevada to move near family, work for the state of Nevada in health and human services, as well as education. And then I started my own public affairs company, which we've been leading for about 6 years. It's grown beyond Nevada into 3 other neighboring states, Arizona. Been a member of the chamber. In January, I'd be thrilled to serve along all of you and help grow this wonderful community we have in Northern Nevada. Thanks for consideration.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Mr. Mike Hicks.
Morning, board. I'm very happy to be here. As you may or may not know, I had served on this board several years ago for a couple of years. Very exciting for me to participate, and I enjoy the fact that the chamber allowed me to participate again, if that is so voted upon. I just want to say I'm currently the regional president for Meadows Bank up here in the Northern Nevada area. Have been native Nevada and lived up here since I was 8 years old. I'm very old, but I have a lot of experience with helping out nonprofit organizations and business organizations. And I just want to say from a personal standpoint that this board is at a really critical point in its business future. And I say business because a lot of times this organization just needs to be focused on being a business and acting like a business and representing this community like a really well-run business. The board members here are doing just that, and we're continuing to work in that direction. The challenge of this board, as you all know, is to be prepared, is to come to this meeting and be really well prepared. As an example, in just the short time that I have had a chance to review the packet, you've got two really great executive search firms in front of you. One, I think, shows a little bit more of a good history, and certainly from a financial standpoint is significantly different. Two, I was kind of interested to see that you're coming off of really one of the best years that the RSCVA has ever had, and that the projections for the organization are reflecting a decline of about 2+%. So I thought it was interesting that if you went back to your the sources that provide the revenue for this organization and asked them, are you going to your marketing groups? Are you going to your promotional groups and projecting a 2% decline for this upcoming fiscal year? I doubt they are. So those are just things that, you know, I really want to help with if I can. And again, I'm proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs. You need to say anything?
Sure. So thank you, Madam Chair. Just so the record's clear. So this is a 2-year appointment for a currently vacant seat. This appointment will become effective immediately. So after the appointment's made, we've got an oath of office, I believe, over there that you can sign. Join the meeting immediately. These appointments are open for discussion by the entire board, but they're voted on by the elected officials only. With that, I'll turn it back to the Madam Chair.
Okay. Do I have any comments from the rest of the board before I look for a motion for appointment? Any other comments from the board? Mr. Murdoch?
I'll trade my own.
Okay. Yes.
I knew you were going to talk to three.
I just asked that. Some dumb questions that it's. Well, the applicants that are coming in have read the agendas and are able to vote
Yes,
by ensure that they've got the knowledge and they've read the vote.
yeah, they were sent packets and I had spoken with both of them. So yes, we wanted them prepared. And we have done this to Mr. Kennedy's,
Thank you.
double checked with him, and we have in the past brought a board member on that immediately sat on the board.
Right.
That's happened. I think Mr. Squaga did. Came right on and voted. Yeah. Okay, thanks for the question. Okay, so with that, I am looking for a nomination for one of these two gentlemen for our spot. And it's either has to be Commissioner Hale or the mayor or myself.
Okay. So I have served with Mike. He was excellent on the board, absolutely excellent. So, and I appreciate your service to this community. I would, like to see someone serve that hasn't served before. So I would like to make a motion for Mr. Edward Abelser.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second that motion. Commissioner Hale, did you have any comments?
I'm looking forward to voting for that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Allison, you get to sit right on the next.
Waits no time. Sit down.
For putting you right to work. And Mr. Hicks, thank you so much for being here and for putting your name in as well. We appreciate the chamber giving us two incredible representatives. So with that, we're going to move on to item D, consent agenda. Try a motion to approve, or if there's anything that someone wants to remove from the consent, otherwise I'm looking for a motion to approve. Okay, motion by Mayor Sheeby to approve the consent, second by member Squaga. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, so consent agenda is approved. Moving on to item E, executive updates. Just FYI for, and I think in our pre-boards we talked about this. We are going to do monthly. We've had CEO update with Charles. She used to give the full update, covering all departments. what we're going to do, we're moving to department updates to hear directly from the senior staff. And as you can see, we also have different seating.
I love
We have different seating
So
and
much better.
they threw it out and said that we had a, I said just a square, like it's a hollow square, which I didn't even know what that, this is the hollow square. But we will add that, table will be there. We will have our VPs, and one additional rotating seat. Mr. McDonald is in that today, and we're gonna go ahead, Mr. Larragetta, I will let you, I don't know if you're starting or you want one of your other, leadership staff to start, and they will give us an update on what's going on in their departments.
That'd be great. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Mike Larragetta, to echo your comments, thank you for supporting senior staff's recommendation for the modification of the setup of the room and the lights. And again, these are temporary. We will look for a more permanent item, but these might work as well. So today, senior staff updates will focus on year-end performances, June activities, and future initiatives. At the conclusion of each departmental update, Courtney, Christina, and I will update the board on senior staff's emerging initiatives. Vice President of Facilities, Trent LaFerrier, will lead us off. Trent.
Thank you, Trent LaFerrier, Vice President of Facilities, for the record. I just wanted to go through some of our properties and some of the projects that we've completed and that are still in progress. So at the convention center, we replaced the AMR doors, also the A meeting room doors, the exterior doors. They were very old and failing, and that has been completed yesterday, actually. And the hall painting inside the exhibit halls, they were pretty muddy. Started painting on those, and hall 3 is completed. Gray trim coming up as a wainscoting and white up on top, and it's beautiful. So it's going to really brighten up all of the exhibit lights. We've got our RFPs are out, and bids coming in for re-roofing of some sections of the roof at the convention center, and we're also going to be doing the same for the paving on the east and southeast corners of the convention center. Reno Event Center, the suite renovations project is going along nicely. We've got the carpet, baseboard trim, paint is all completed, and it looks wonderful, and we're waiting on furniture. It should be at end of August. And then we're getting the process and starting for replacing the arena lighting inside the event center, getting rid of the HIDs and going with LED. National Bowling Stadium, the USDC tournament just finished up Monday afternoon, and it was a great success. We have just purchased a new vehicle for the bowling stadium. The old pickup was 23 years old, it was done. City of Reno did the mural painting around the bowling stadium, and if you haven't seen it, it's wonderful. They did a fantastic job, a lot of color. And then we're working with the city also on putting some permanent fencing around the dirt block. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. And right now they've got the temporary fencing out there. So next one is the Livestock Event Center. Airmark has been working on new signage for all of the concession stand areas, and it looks much better than the stuff. It's been refreshed. We had Grandstand 3, the backside of that painted just prior to the Rio Rodeo, and that was much needed. It's probably 20-year-old paint. And again, we picked up a pickup for that property also to replace the mid-90s with a pickup. So kind of trying to upgrade the fleet a little bit, make them safer and better. That's all I have online.
Thank you.
Good morning. For the record, Archie Young is Executive Director of Tourism Sales. Again, thank you for the opportunity to present a very quick recap on our fiscal year 23 tourism sales department. So basically, we know that there's 3 ways to book a hotel. 1, hotel direct for independent travelers or FITs. 2, hotel direct for group sales, and third-party channels. Third-party channels include membership marketing, travel advisor training, sales platforms, and trade shows. So our programming is twofold. 1 is to promote the destination's unique periods through the third-party channels, and to educate and influence our extended sales force. So let's talk a little bit about what these programs entail. Partnership marketing. Again, I mentioned these are designed to promote the destination's new periods. And also in fiscal year 23, we conducted 17 partnership marketing programs. 2 of these programs were upper funnel, inspirational type of programming, and 15 of those programs are direct call to action programming. Travel advisor training. It's important for us to train an extended sales force. We communicate monthly with over 50,000 US-based travel agents. And we also conduct live webinars to keep this extended sales force educated on the destination. Sales platforms. These include sales missions, FAMs, and client development events. There we go, we're back up there. Last year, we planned and coordinated 3 domestic sales missions in key origination markets. And these were in our continued partnership with the RSCVA, Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and Travel Nevada. We also participated in 2 Travel Nevada sales missions in Canada and Mexico. We also conducted 11 FAMs throughout the year. We believe that seeing is believing, and some of these FAMs were part of the various trade shows that were in town. We also worked with Volaris Airlines, Brand USA, and we brought in our first international influencer FAM from Mexico City. We also conducted numerous client development events so that we wanted to connect our hotel partners with true sellers of travel. And trade shows, we did attend. Clicker. Clicking. All right, we did attend 5 appointment-based trade shows to meet with the domestic and international sellers of travel and also to connect with media. Okay, next slide. Ready? There we go. Oh, there we go. I'm done. So we implemented programs with these travel partners. It's important for us to work with these guys, whether we're doing an upper funnel, inspirational travel spotlight event with Expedia, or developing call to action campaigns with booking.com, or communicating with 50,000 travel agents monthly through the mail pound, or developing midweek corporate travel promotions with Sabre. It's important for us to be with these partners because their reach extends so much further than we could reach on our own. Not only do we need to be on these super travel stores, imagine if this was a store and these were aisles, we want to be on the shelf. And I've said it before, we want to be on the shelf in the middle, not down here. And that's what we do. We fight for space to be on this highly competitive space. Next slide.
Hey, Art, real quick, while we're having a technical moment. Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
No.
When it says market mix 27%, is that your responsible area that we're saying market mix?
Correct. And that's right after this. So how room night production. So how do we source our reporting? So Washoe County's largest 10 hotels report every month. And we also add in some GDS travel agent market segment reporting into this to get our room nights. Now, this number here is for fiscal year 23, but we don't have June yet. We're still missing a little bit of data that isn't confirmed. So this is July through May. Okay. So as you can see that we recorded so far 624,406 room nights for the destination in the top 10 properties that are reported, which also includes system-wide, destination-wide GDS room nights. All right, so the mix is 27.5%. Now, we don't have a mechanism to track the entire third-party business mix for the destination, but if we did, I think that market mix would be well over 35% in this market segment. So keep that in mind. And that's a good point, Stephen, because 3 ways to book a room. And this is the third channel that all of our properties really need to rely on and do rely on, especially communicating with that extended sales force. Okay. So,
May I ask a question?
Yeah, Mr. Burrow. I'm gonna say, thank you.
All right, so on the tourism one, so the OTAs and they're all in this, right?
yes, sir.
And you're able to track that?
Oh, yeah. We can break them out. Like, for example, this right here shows for year to date through May. So OTAs represent what, 60%, 20% on the GDS. The GDS is really important because that's predominantly midweek,
Right,
corporate travel, which is
That's what-
important.
right.
Okay, now we still need to keep programming in all these channels. We have to be in the space, and some of it doesn't produce a lot, but it doesn't cost a lot to be in some of these channels. But we want to make sure that we're covering everything.
Now, when you look at these numbers, you said that 10 reporting casinos, but what about the third party, the Marriott's and the, for instance, you know, the Hyatt's, what percentage are they getting of what you do? How do you track that?
So the only number that we have in there that includes the flagship properties is the travel agent GDS. We have a program with Travel Click that gives us that data for all of Washoe County. But other than that, we're missing OTA, wholesale, receptive on those flagship properties. I'd love to have a mechanism to do that. If we did, I think that number is going to be a lot higher than 27.5%.
And then I think we were told that the tax base, that when we collect taxes, that hotel group is 30%. Am I right, Mr. Larry?
Correct. Mike Larigetta for the record, when we ran the data on this past fiscal year, the limited service, select service properties represented approximately 30% of the room tax and approximately 30% of the consumer room tax.
Well, I'm just saying, that looks like we do pretty well there. It'd be nice if you somehow had a mechanism, because what you do flows into those other properties, and it'd be nice to know that, because we spend money, and maybe it gives us a direction to spend money. You know, we want everybody paying tax, right? That's what makes our world go round, is room tax, so.
Well, it's an important market because during COVID, when the casino properties were closed, I mean, they were doing very well, and they generated room tax for the organization. But again, you know, we can talk internally about how we could possibly work on that mechanism.
Thank you.
And then finally, here's the recap of fiscal years 18 through 23. And all of the years are complete years, except for the first fiscal year 23, that's through May. As you can see, we're not back to 18 or 19 levels yet, but we are making our way back. And I think we'll be not quite at 700,000 room nights for the fiscal year when we do get the June numbers in, but we'll be in that ballpark. So we are making a steady climb back.
Okay, Mayor Sweeten.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you. Really appreciate you at the table, because this is a report that I always thought was really necessary to be at the table. So can you tell me, what does that look like for the international funnel? Because in the pandemic completely stopped. So give us an idea of what you're sort of seeing as we come back.
So pre-pandemic, we weren't, if you recall, we had representation in China. We had
Yes.
offices in China. That was the big thing to do. And it wasn't performing for us. We had offices in Beijing, Guangzhou.
Yeah. I
So on and
remember.
so forth. So we pulled that out before COVID. Our only flight coming in internationally is Polaris. We do work with Polaris. Actually, we had a call with them this week. We have 4 large programs in place with them for this fiscal year. We are looking to open an office representation in Mexico. And we'll make that decision in October along with Travel Nevada. We've already opened up communication with a firm in Canada to do consumer PR. Ben and I chatted with them earlier this week. So I think in Canada, PR as well, it's a market that likes to drive. So driving 12 hours to get here and then experiencing the Wilderness Highway and the loop around the lake is easy for them to get here. I think we're ready for that. Mexico, certainly, we just weren't ready. The COVID hit, but now we're going to look at some representation in Mexico to conduct travel trade programming and PR for us as well. But as far as numbers, the only numbers that we can, say that it's working are the flights coming in from the wires, which run at pretty good load factors. But one of the things we want to do is that plane is we chatted earlier this week, and share that plane, those seats are filled with different buckets.
Yeah.
A lot of those buckets are friends and family,
Yeah.
and we want to move that to more leisure, eventually business, but for sure leisure. And that's our hope to be in that this semester.
Yeah.
College.
Great. Awesome. Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Art. Mike?
Thank you, Art. Apologies for grounding the board today in data, but it's end of the fiscal year, so we promise moving forward.
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry. I
Yes.
had my light on. I didn't get called.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm left-handed, and I tend to look left instead of.
Take it off.
I will make it happen.
Sorry, Mr. Spock.
No, but real quick, in Art, that slide where it showed this year compared to back to like 17, and we're not quite there. That's just through your area. So obviously, so they're coming, because basically we're back to, right, we're back to pre-COVID rough, we're flat on room. So are they booking, are more people just booking direct, do you think? And
So,
orders and that kind of thing?
so as you're well aware, Mr. Esquaga, that especially since post-pandemic, properties have certainly adjusted their third-party rate strategies, and that affects this channel.
Yeah.
So as direct bookings increase, this is going to be affected.
Yeah.
This is going
Which
to be
is also good for the organization in the sense that you're getting a higher, you're getting more room tax.
And just to add on to that, Mr. Squaga, I think you'll see that in most of the segmentation within the hotels, right? The FIT and casino is dominating. The select services are primarily direct or through their chain codes or their affiliate with their flag. The third-party distribution of OTA, wholesale, receptive operators, and group are going to be down, and you'll see that in my report on our last fiscal year as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Lurgett, are you up next?
Mr. Murdoch has his light on, sorry.
Mr. Murdoch.
You're usually used to us going like this.
Hold the light.
Hey, Mike, so we're down at cash rooms, though.
For this last fiscal year, yes, we were on.
The cash rooms, are we up in conflict?
I don't have that number in front of me. Courtney's gonna report on that. It's year-end statistics, so I'm sure.
We
it'll
are
be on our
about
side.
5% of comp rooms.
Yes.
We're up.
5% comp,
So it
yeah.
looks possibly like we're flat, but we're down in cash room.
We're actually up 0.4%, so overall flat for the entire fiscal year,
The fiscal year compared to. what
the
do we-
prior fiscal year.
Okay, what do we compare to the COVID, pre-COVID?
So pre-COVID, cash rooms are down, and I can get back to you with the cost statistics, but cash rooms are down pre-COVID.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lurgett.
Okay, thank you. The meetings and convention sports teams and business development area had a tremendous year this past fiscal year. The room night goal for that division was 220,400 rooms. And the team finished at 249,101 or 113% goal. What's very impressive about the production from the group segment was 52% of the 249,000 room had never been to Reno or had not been to Reno in a minimum of 4 years. There's been a lot of discussion about lead generation and room nights for leads, and when are we getting back to pre-pandemic levels? So I pulled some data for the last 2 years and then also 18-19, because obviously that was the full year pre-pandemic. And I wanted to share that with the board today. So this last year, we had 643 leads for just over 763,000 room nights. And in 21-22, 2 years ago, we had 533 leads for just over 610,000 room nights. When you go back to the first year pre-pandemic, obviously the numbers are stronger. We had 739 leads for over 958,000 room nights. So when I say leads, for those of you that don't have a hotel background, these are basically when we receive leads from the outside through meeting planners, third parties, direct, we source those out to the hotels. And then the hotels bid and we step out from that standpoint for the most part, and then they negotiate pricing concessions and fulfillment of the contracts. What's interesting to the point of where we are this last year versus 18-19 is that we are at 87% in terms of the leads, and we are at 80% of the room nights. So we are slowly closing the gap to pre-pandemic years, but to Stephen's point, overall, the occupancy in the room nights seem to be flat, but it depends on the segmentation. So we're getting there. We're making up ground. Any questions as it relates to the performance or production or group segmentation?
So 85% is new business.
This is on Mr. Tracy. I'll get to him in a second. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
What does that mean?
So
I'm all.
it's very,
Damn,
very impressive, very impressive.
amazing.
So if there are any other questions about the performance of the past year, at the request of some of the board members, they had asked that they wanted to get to know our remote directors of sales on the convention side a little better. And if they happen to be in town that coincided with the board meeting, they would love for them to come to their meeting and introduce themselves. So today, Mr. Sean Tracy, who is our regional director for the Southeast Territory based in Atlanta, Georgia, he's had a tremendous year in the six plus years he's been with the organization. He's booked over 74,000 room nights, 54 groups, and to your question, Madam Mayor, 85% of his business has never been to Reno. And so when Sean joined the organization, shortly after I joined the organization, he was my first addition to the meetings and conventions team. And he came from a very successful career at Caesars Entertainment. And there was some skepticism and questions about whether we would be able to perform out of the Southeast market, predominantly because of concern about the lack of airlift. Well, Sean has obviously trumped that skepticism and has done very well and has performed at the highest levels. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Sean Tracy. I know he'd like to say a few words to the board and he really likes to talk, so please just a few words. Sean.
Sure.
And so Sean, why
sell so much?
So Sean, I will just gavel you if you're going with.
You don't have to. I have customers to meet. Anyway, thank you, Mike, for that kind introduction. It was a market that was untapped. My name is Sean Tracy, for the record. Is that a deal? Is that what we do? On a couple other boards in Atlanta, I'm on the MPI for PCM. MPI is Media Professionals International. PCM is a similar organization in the Southeast. And through Mike's leadership, I was able to make some decisions, and that he just said, you know what, Sean, let's do that. And I made some suggestions and he was like, that sounds good. So we're actually platinum members of the 6th largest meeting planners organization internationally. And so it's really given us some great exposure. As Mike said, I came from Caesars Entertainment. And when I first came here, I was thinking, wow, how am I going to do this? But then when I actually came here, I thought to myself, wow, if I would have known this, I'd have moved here. I came out of the Las Vegas market and moved to Atlanta. Beautiful, beautiful city. I'm proud to represent this city. And we actually made when I moved to Atlanta, that Southeast region, there were only a couple things known about Reno, and everybody in the room knows what they were.
Yeah.
One of them was the sitcom.
Yeah.
One of them was, you know, I mean, so anyway, there wasn't much exposure to Reno. And through Mike's guidance, I was able to really make some strong moves there. And Reno and Sparks and Lake Tahoe are solidly on the board in the Southeast market.
Yeah.
I was telling Mayor Sheevy a little bit ago, I'm fortunate because I don't get those leads that are like 20 rooms per night that have up to 16 total room nights. I tend to get larger leads because if they're coming this distance, they're going to bring a larger attendance to it. So I'm very fortunate with that. We actually had Coca-Cola come out here, by the way, a couple of weeks ago, and they came out and saw the Grand Sierra Resort and they saw the Atlantis Hotel. They're both Coke properties. And our convention center is also Coke property. We blew them away with service, but it comes down to the normal story out of the Southeast. Over 50% of their attendees were coming out of Atlanta, and there was no way to get 750 people here in one day out of the Atlanta market. But I will tell you this, we made a great position with them. They will look at us again, so we opened that door, and maybe we'll start with getting a little bit smaller leads with them. But the beat goes on, and I'm so proud to represent this organization. I'm so proud to be part of this team. Mike is building an unbelievable team. I'm so proud to be part of all these people who are so helpful to me, because being not with the mothership keeps you a little bit disconnected, right? But if I call Ben and if I call Christina and everybody's like, yes, we'll do that. Let's do this. Let's do that. So I want to thank you all. I'm happy to introduce myself to my bosses. That's how it goes. Anyway, does anybody have any questions? Mike, should I add anything aside from?
I think you covered it.
All right, you don't have to turn me off.
You're not off the hook yet. Commissioner Dunn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming up and introducing yourself and great work. I'm wondering what input you receive from groups that come here on our community and any ways that we can improve. It would be great to get that feedback.
I would love to tell you that feedback. First of all, when a group is coming out here, I'm normally with them, right? So I position them to the charm of our city and so much that we have going on and so much new growth in the tech. I feel like when I come with somebody and we have our wonderful hotel partners that are also representing the city, that I don't know what the percentage will be, but I know it's extremely high as far as a close to the business. And they're always very, very, very surprised that we have this little midtown area popping up. We're so close to Lake Tahoe. And that in my market, it's really interesting. Like I'll say, oh yeah, I'll be in Reno next week. And somebody will say, oh, I'll be in Vegas. We should go have lunch. I'm like, listen, I can't get there in time for that. But that's what the perception is. They aren't really geographically thinking about it, right? So when they think Lake Tahoe, they don't realize that the North Shore is 40 minutes up the street.
Yeah.
You know, they don't realize all the, I pose our city more about the outdoors, right? And we're all, and Mike's entire team is used to selling the gaming destination. That's an easy piece at the end of the day, because even the groups that say they don't game, I'm gonna tell you, they're still gaming, right? Everybody's bringing at least $100 if they're coming to a gaming destination. But, so we can sell through that easily, but the really thing is the perception, Commissioner, that the rest of the country has, right? They think it's whatever those old cliches are. And once they come, it's fantastic. I mean, I would say, I don't, like I said, I don't know what the percentage is, but I bet you it's very high with what it is to close once we bring them out here.
Great, thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, you're
Thank
still
you.
not off the hook.
I'm here as long as you need me.
Newbie question. You know, when the minute you said air services, my ears spidey senses start going up. So when we bring a group like Coke in, how involved is Trish and Hassan from the airport in this? Could we be more involved helping out? Because I'm thinking, we used to have that Atlanta route.
And Charlotte.
And Charlotte, exactly. Those two were really good. And we just had dinner with a number of the airlines a couple months ago. And I was pushing, we need more back east, but how are we involved and what can we do more to help you?
I gotta tell you, Trish and Hassan are fantastic. They present on our meetings often, and they're great resources for me as well. And as things change, and I need documentation, because it's a big question in my market. The lift is a big deal. At the end of the day, there's only one flight out of the entire eastern region.
Right.
So, there's not much more you can do, except for I would have had a lot more champagne at that meeting with the airlines. Probably. Yeah, you know, that's just how it rolls. But they're a great partner with us. So they give us all we need without us having the flights and whatever that brings back. From what I understand from what they've said in the past is both those flights, Charlotte and Atlanta, were both very successful and they would stay full. But after the pandemic, there was no staff.
Right.
For those.
Anything I can do, let me know. Please don't hesitate to reach out. If I need to go with you on these meetings, represent the airport,
I love that.
Carol, myself, wherever we need. But I think this is one thing that we got to pull all of our resources together, really make a solid front, which you're already doing. So I'm not dismissing that one bit at all. But let's make it even stronger to get more of these companies like Coke here, because I think once we start getting some of these in here.
Right, and I love that, so thank you very much for the support, and I love the fact that you said, you know, if there's anything I can speak to. It's something that's very evident in my market, you know, as soon as I go for it, when you're talking to a group, it's always that same conversation, it's like, you know, it's difficult to get there, whatever it is. And I'm saying, you know, it'll change, just like we had direct flights in the past. Something like Coke was a great thing for us. Mike Largetta went to dinner with them, it was a really quick turn, I couldn't get out there, I was having a surgery at that time, actually. So Mike went to dinner with them. The Atlantis like blew it out of the park. The Grand Sierra Resort blew it out of the park. The convention center blew it out of the park. And they said even at dinner, they were like, it would be 100% you if we weren't having the group was 1,500 total on peak.
Wow.
So it was like an 8,000 total night group, but 750 of them had to come from Atlanta on the same day. And that's impossible.
And Mr. J, just to add to that, the airport has been a tremendous partner. Tina, Hassan, Trish, all the way up to Darren. And in this particular situation, they actually called Delta on our behalf and pushed very hard for additional lift or increased capacity of the flights that are going through Salt Lake. It came down to the number of people that Coke had to arrive within a short period of time.
Okay, good to know, and you know, kind of helps me to get with them and you know, continuing to push this really tight network together and bringing stuff like this in together.
Mr. Turlock, is your light on new or?
It's
Still-
new.
Okay. Oh, I just, yeah.
It doesn't work now, just leave it on. John, thank you. First of all, thanks to the team for allowing, and the chair for allowing to get into this.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being here. It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Good to know what's going on in our marketplace, and thank you. This was unbelievable. It's what sales guys like me and casino guys love to hear. Appreciate it. Secondly, when you get into a situation with Coke, and Stephen and I, we battled this back in the day with Safari Club. We literally knew that convention could come here, but we had to go and get concessions and guarantees. Like we went to Southwest and we said, just for those days, can we add service? If we give them enough notice and we could get a plan together that gives us preemptive information to go to these airlines and sell it. Like they want to know the bowling congress is here. And when they do, they go, oh, I didn't know you had 50,000 people and 80% of them fly.
you know, it's a game and you gotta have you gotta get on it early. We want to help you any way we can. If you've got a big convention, you can get a hold, we're used to that. The Reno Tahoe Airport Group is used to that and Mike's used to it. And if we have to take, we have a fund here, $1 million fund, right? And am I saying this? If we have to help subsidize a couple of airplanes to get $1.5 million convention in here, there should be a way to do that. We have the funding. So I'm just letting everybody know, this is something that could grow. Let's get back into proactive attack. Appreciate what you're saying. We can help. We can do this. Coke, we should get them here. We just gotta have enough time to sell the airlines.
Thank you for that information. I love that. So I'll be calling you in about 2 months.
You got it. I love it.
It's going directly to you.
Hey, wait a minute, one more thing. Caesars wants you back. Sorry.
You know, I gotta tell you, I played very fair in the sandbox and I'm fortunate enough to have some Caesars properties here, ERI properties. And I'm still their best advocate. I mean, if I'm in a room and someone's saying we're going to Vegas, I'm like, well, listen. I'm a very loyal person, so I stay close to them and I love them all. And they said, when they come back, they still say, man, you're an icon in that market. I'm like, yeah, now I'm in this market. This is perfect.
Thank you.
I'm proud to be here. Thank you everybody.
Thank you, Sean.
Am I off the hook?
Great job.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, are we still on you?
Yeah, I have one more slide. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, to Sean's point, I'm biased, but I think we do have a great team, but we obviously are in a fluid industry and people do come and go, unfortunately. And we recently had 2 regional directors pursue other opportunities. So we had 2 markets to fill, which again, I think this speaks to where we are from a reputation in the industry, because we had an abundance of applications, some very talented people. And we're very fortunate to announce that we have hired 2 people in the Northern California market and the Midwest. Christina Hinshaw joined the RSCVA team on July 10th, and she is based in San Jose. Obviously, a key in Northern California, the Pacific Northwest is a key, in Northern Nevada is a key market for Reno Tahoe and Sparks. And she also, just a coincidence, came from Caesar Entertainment. She's been a national sales manager for over 9 years, and we're very excited to have Christina on the team. She came and did her training a couple weeks ago, and everybody loved her and well respected, and I know she's going to do a fabulous job. Our most recent hire, which I promised had no influence from our chair, Misty Sparks, will join the RSCVA on July 31st. Misty will oversee the Midwest market. She's based in Ohio. And Misty has over 10 years of experience with Caesar Entertainment and Hyatt Hotels Corporation. So Misty will be here on August 7th for her training and is really looking forward to selling the region. And we're very excited to have both of them on our team. Okay. Any questions for me before I turn it over to Christina? Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Christina Ernie, Vice President of Marketing. I know marketing usually has the pretty photos, but I too am starting off with some stats and a graph because I am also so proud of the marketing team for hitting all of our goals for last fiscal year, 23. I'm going to highlight a little bit more later on the social community side and why that growth is so big. But as a spoiler, it is largely in part to our TikTok channel and the success of our growing TikTok channel. Wrong way. Here for the fiscal year 23, our top BMAs. I don't think anyone here will be surprised by this list, but this is provided to us by an organization called Zartico. They are a geolocation tracking company, and we have a number of areas earmarked around the destination. They also provide us with credit card data and spend data as well, but I won't be going into that this meeting, but I will in a future meeting. As a reminder, as we are all kind of going through each of our individual updates, department updates, I'm not able to go through everything that the marketing team is up to. For example, I'm not going to go into a lot of our big advertising programming today, but I will in the future. And every month we will be circling back to highlighting, if you remember, we came up with a key findings report from our visitor profile study. And so all these initiatives roll up into that, those findings based on that study. One of the things that I wanted to start off with was our venue marketing. We've made great strides here in venue marketing. A lot of this is in part to hiring a venue marketing manager. We have, for the first time, established brand guidelines for each of our facilities, coming up with colors, fonts, and updating all of the signage at all of our facilities so it looks consistent, polished, and professional. You can see there on the bottom, we recently updated with Aramark, our food service company. On the left was our previous concession stand. And then you can see on the right, we've updated some signage again, and we did this in time for rodeo, elevating our facilities here. What else do we have going on? We are updating our social media strategy. If you don't follow us on Reno events, you can follow all of our facilities there. And we heard from bowlers that they really wanted to have something commemorative that they could take home. So we've implemented some swag. We've heard from our community that they really wanted to see the inside of the bowling center, bowling stadium. And so for the second time this year, we are opening up the National Bowling Stadium to the public on August 20th, celebrating National Bowling Day. So invite your friends and family to come down to the stadium. And lastly, we are more closely partnering with our community and our great partners. We've just developed a discovery guide, which is a book featuring like our local businesses, discounts, coupons, elevating our visitor experience when they're coming into the destination and getting them out and about around our community. Here's just a quick highlight of the brand handbooks that we have made for each of the 4 facilities and the guidelines that we have set up. Next up, I wanted to talk about, recently last week, I was at Destination International's annual convention. It's one of our governing bodies for destination marketing. And one of the key highlights was the importance of destinations supporting sustainable travel and how it is growing in importance for a visitor, whether they're traveling for business or conventions or leisures, that they are traveling to a destination that cares about sustainable travel. So we have partnered with a national nonprofit called Leave No Trace here for this summer. And they're a great partner for us, coming off of the heels for the stewardship program coming up at the lake, to our efforts here in Reno, to Sparks, out to the Black Rock Desert. I mean, Leave No Trace is one of Burning Man's guiding principles. So we felt like this was a great partnership to bring to our area. And we are so fortunate. So just a little bit before I play this video, I really wanted to center this video on the Truckee River. So you will see that theme. What is the thing that connects our communities from the lake through Reno, through Sparks to Pyramid, and then just beyond to the Black Rock is our Truckee. And I really want to feature how it connects all of us and how our communities are also connected, and what you do impacts everyone. And we have some really great nonprofits here locally. We partnered with Clean Up the Lake, Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, and Friends of Black Rock, who are working so hard to keep our river pristine and our area pristine. And this will only help communicating the health of our environment and just how much it brings value to both visitors and residents. So I'm gonna play this. We had a whole video series, but this is the long version of it. I'm sorry it's long, but I wanted to share it with you guys.
Sorry for the technical errors. I think they're working on it. Okay.
Well, I was gonna say, I can just.
Yeah. So,
Thank you. Got the message.
do you want to, do you have anything else or can we engage? I didn't know, is your?
I'm not done with marketing, but if you
Oh,
want
okay,
to
no.
chime in, you can.
Okay, well, let's just talk
Yeah.
about this for a
Yeah.
second. And I'm gonna do that.
Okay, Mayor Sheehy.
First of all, thank you so much. Can I tell you how important this is? The numbers that we've seen through the Conference of Mayors, and all we do is study cities and tourism and what makes cities great, right? It has gone up exponentially, like 300% since the pandemic, that people, when they visit someplace, want to be outside. That's one of the reasons why Reno's had such fantastic numbers. So we have something, obviously, in our backyard that is so special. And I will tell you this, and I hear it more and more, and I think everyone needs to realize, if you're gonna be relevant in the future, you better look at your future generations. Your future generations are talking about how to be sustainable. And matter of fact, I would tell you this, even I get people all the time saying, I'm staying at the Peppermill because of the geothermal component. It's a really, really big deal. Not to mention, this is a way to also market, we have clean water, right? But I can't stress enough how important this is. And I've talked about it at this board and, Mr. Bill Bradley, some of you, everyone knows Bill Bradley. He sits on the Tumwa Foundation side and, they have some money that comes from Tumwa through each bill. And quite honestly, I'm just gonna be very, very honest with all of you. Born and raised here, many of you were too. Love the Truckee River more than life itself. You can go down there, fish, all these things. It was really important for me to put river rangers down there. But we thought we would have more partnerships in place and, get everyone to support this initiative, because I think we need 24/7 river rangers. No one should be sleeping on it. We should not have needles down there, nothing. We need to make this a priority, and it comes down from RTC because that's a pathway. And I've asked them for paving and lighting. Alexis knows, she's on board. We've been, trying to do that, but I'm gonna tell you that this board, Bill Bradley is gonna come and ask for your support, because we actually need probably 10 to 12 river rangers so that people aren't sleeping along the river. We need to protect it, but we need to get serious about it, because quite honestly, I can't do it alone. So I just want everyone to know, if we truly do care about sustainability and tourism, people, when they come here, they want to go. And it goes right next to you. That's not just a Reno thing. It's a Sparks County, everyone. But, we were working on an initiative together and that didn't happen. So I would just say, I would love to have your collaboration and everyone's support in the region on this effort, because I think, what we have to do is we have to go in there and clean it up. And we have an ordinance. You cannot sleep along the river. We have to go in there and clean it up. And it costs about $250,000 to do one time. So if we had, like they do in Boise, because we've seen the model now, and it's a great model. They have river rangers along there, and they're also giving guidance to tourism and to tourists and to people in the community. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a pristine river, and also say we care about our drinking water. And not to mention, quite honestly, if you have a fire or a flood, I'm gonna get blamed for it. They'll say, Mary, you didn't do enough. So I think it's also a safety concern, but I would say it is one of the best assets that we could possibly use to attract visitors and residents. And we need to be able to use it, and we should be saying this needs to stay clean and pristine. So I really hope when Mr. Bradley comes, that everyone is supportive, because I think it's an asset that we have not leveraged and also quite honestly taken care of. So.
Mayor, I couldn't agree with you more. And just to add to that, in the city of Sparks, our Hope team, which is our police officers, are on the river every single day. They're in our city parks, but they are primarily on the river, making contact with the homeless, connecting them to services, going to Rock Park. So our Hope team for Sparks is doing that work right now, and I see collaborations.
Well, and then you guys bring them to Reno for service, so that's where I'm saying we've got to do this
Which
together.
is, yeah, we're also on the same page here. Christina, do you wanna, are we more video or are we moving on?
We're moving.
Okay.
Did you have?
And Mr. Chapman has a question.
Oh, sorry. And Mr. Chapman did join us. I'm sorry to acknowledge. He was on. He's on Zoom. Yeah, where's your light, Andy? Mr. Chapman, are you there?
That's awfully quiet.
See on mute, we can't see the screen.
Well, while we're working to get them, just reiterate that these did launch prior to Memorial Weekend, to the 4th of July weekend, and really trying to combat when we have an influx of visitors coming to the region. And thank you all so much for your support. Andy, are you there?
Andy,
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, now we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Christina, thank you for that. And I know that on that video, there was a lot of video of Tahoe, and I do want to recognize and appreciate the RSCVA for joining the Lake Tahoe Stewardship Council that we've been working hard on over these last 2 years, or 18 months to 24 months. I think it'll be important to kind of align the efforts from a regional perspective as that plan now has been launched, and as we all kind of do the hard work now of how are we implementing the recommendations of the plan, but making sure that we're all kind of singing off of that same sheet of paper, I think will be important as it relates to kind of what's going on up at the lake. Again, really appreciate RSCVA's participation in that because it's critically important, and even more so now as we look at how we align those messages, work on the first 18 months of the plan implementation and how we deal with the issues that are up there. And again, recognizing RSCVA also for funding the TART Connect, because those are going to be critical elements to help this plan get pushed forward. But I just wanted to mention that, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy. Christina, are you done?
Thank you so much. I'm almost done.
Okay.
Thank you so much for everyone's comments. We appreciate it. One last thing on Leave No Trace before I move on to one more thing, is that part of this partnership is we get to extend our partnership to our community. We can grant our partnership to businesses and organizations here in our community who also uphold these values. So we're working with Leave No Trace right now to come up with guidelines, and then we'll be granting this partnership to businesses and organizations in our community to once again show our visitors that we care and that we're a community that cares. So that's it on Leave No Trace. Lastly, I promised that I would highlight social media and why we've had such a major growth in followers this past year. One of them is the launch of our TikTok channel. We have 6.7 million views on our TikTok channel already within a year. And it's really incredible. A big part of this is thanks to our partnership with Matador Network, a media company. They have content creators come out here. They are professionals, they are experts. We also have our social media team working with them and producing consistent content that is going up on that channel. It has now almost 11,000 followers, even since I kind of pulled these slides, just growing exponentially. We've also launched a new email program highlighting our social media only, and it's been widely successful, bringing across our channels, bringing people from our email campaign, getting them engaged and following our channels to have more touch points with them throughout the day. Another thing I want to touch on was some of our event activations. As part of our sponsorships, as part of our sponsorship program that we do, we often get booth space at events. We aren't always able to manage that booth, and so we have booth takeovers is what we're kind of calling it. And Tasha Holloway on our events team has come up with this idea where we can have events come and take over our booths. And so we had most recently at Pride last weekend, we had Dark Corner come and take over our booth. And they promoted their event that's happening at our bowling stadium here this fall. And they passed out our Reno Tahoe branded swag and posted all about it on social media. And lastly, I just wanted to touch on another thing that we recently launched is we've all heard that that SPCA was getting full. And we've also heard from our visitor profile study that more people are traveling to this region with their pets. So we kind of put those two together, and we have gone and done a partnership with them now that once a quarter, we're gonna go get a dog from the SPCA that needs to be adopted, that maybe has been more difficult to be adopted. And we're gonna go and include them in our videos, show them all of the dog-friendly things that are here to do in the summer, fall, winter. So we took June out, showed all the dog-friendly businesses, attractions, and I'm happy to say June was adopted within 2 days after the video was posted. And she also got, she went home with her Reno Tahoe branded bandana, her Reno Tahoe leash, and her sustainability, her cleanup bags as well that we have that are sustainable. So we're really happy with that and gonna continue to do more activations there. That's all I have for marketing today. Again, we are doing a lot more. We are developing some AI initiatives right now, some leading destinations in that technology. I will cover on that more next month. And we're shooting some gaming content. I think Mr. Squaga saw our team there last week with Condé Nast at his property. And so we'll be sharing some of that here coming up as well. Stay tuned for more. I think I've shared enough time today. Did you?
I do. Actually, just to that too, kudos to the RSCVA team on, it wasn't just, I know they got them all around the region, but the whole Condé Nast brand, and again, I'm probably gonna misspeak, but their umbrella properties is pretty GQ, Bon Appetit, Condé Nast, but yeah, it was great, and they were dialed. I think the local group that was working, even on the production, there was some local production help, they were top notch. It was great. I think they were blown away. I know, Sean.
Yes.
No, he's spot on. When we get people here to see it, from the time they step off the plane or drive in and they see the Sierras and it sells itself really well. So, one just quick question or a comment. The visitor profile study slide. And again, I still remember when you made that presentation, I think we were all just trying to take in all the information for, we have 3 or 4 new board members. I wouldn't mind even looking at it again. Would it be, is it right, the way that it's in right now?
Yeah, you can't read it. It was just so someone can remember to reference that page.
But that'd be great if you could share it with the whole group. But great job, Christine. Thank you.
I will. Yeah, Ben just reminded me, it is in the plan, the annual plan, but I will send it back out and we'll include it in the board packet, just as a reminder of that one sheet.
Yeah.
With the key takeaways. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Mayor Sheedy.
I love that idea because I don't think the board felt like we had enough discussion on that presentation. It was so good. So, and I think it's always nice to revisit. So, and I know you wanted to, so that's great. Christina's being very humble. How many of you are on Instagram? Well, get on, everyone honestly should be on Instagram because when you see the content, when you see their content, we really all should be sharing it, and it's very easy, one click of a button, but it's very inspiring and it makes me really, really proud. And you do a very good job of not focusing on just one thing. I like how it's incredibly diverse. I get that all the time though, whenever I'm traveling. I've been doing a ton of travel, and people have said, oh, it's so funny that it just came up in my feed, and I couldn't believe it. And to your point, we had some influencers here a couple weeks ago that I met with, and they get 4 cities that they have to go to, and they have killer cities: Austin, Atlanta, New York City, LA, and then Reno. And they were like, Reno? They were like, oh gosh. So they were all saying, oh, this is gonna be so great, except for when we go to Reno. Well, they came here, and then after their trip, they were like, Reno by far was the best out of all cities. We were so blown away. So you're right, when they get here, it's very easy, to sell that. But so much of that has to do with the work that you're doing on the social media aspect, because so much of that now, and it's a very hard game to figure out because the algorithms are always changing.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if everyone can really appreciate how you're always having to pivot and change every 5 seconds on all the different platforms. we'll see what happens with Threads. Are you on Threads?
We are, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll see, because it looked like, you know, they had a great couple days and then it just.
I agree.
And I
That's
thought
what
it was
we've seen
very
so far.
confusing platform
Yeah.
and just unorganized.
And there seems to be some glitches in it at this
Yeah.
point. I've seen a number of people complaining with the glitches on their end, so I think that Meta's still figuring that out. A little
So
bit,
we'll,
but
we'll wait and see, but.
we are on it though.
I think I saw your number up there, I couldn't remember, but, so, and also Christina's being very humble, she actually has NBC, a national, television show. I don't know,
Yeah.
hopefully that's not embargoed, coming here, because they recognized her great work. And so it's kind of a big show.
Yeah, they're gonna do an entire feature on our region.
Yeah, next week.
They're filming, yeah,
I
and
think
then
so.
it'll launch
Oh,
this
no,
fall.
a couple of.
It's in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
But
it
that's
will air this
because
fall.
she does such a great job, so.
Thank
awesome. I
you
just wanna
so much.
just Recognize you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Rock, did you have a question?
Quick
Or
question.
Nathan?
It may be a mix to Mike, but how are we doing with our air service consultant that's you hired?
Yes, we are on track. I spoke with them yesterday and we will be getting our report on Monday of next week, the 31st. And so if there's enough time and ready to share it at the August board meeting, I will. That's one of the things that I will be sharing at either the next board meeting or the one right after that.
Money
Yeah, we're
well
excited.
spent, and it'd be nice to
I
get
think
it,
so too.
and we give it to airport representative. and,
Absolutely.
Okay,
We're sharing it with the region.
thank you,
Yeah, of course.
thank you.
Okay, so are we ready for Courtney?
We are.
Okay, go.
Good morning, Courtney Jager, Vice President of Finance. For the finance portion of our departmental updates, we'll start off by reviewing room tax statistics. But before we do that, I do want to introduce our room tax manager, Robert Douglas, sitting in the back row. Robert. Robert's been with the RSCVA for over 19 years. Most of you know him from his prior experience, but Robert just does incredible work and we are so fortunate to have him here. So I just wanted to give him a little introduction today. So here we have a summary of June 2023. These numbers are preliminary and not yet final, but we did want to go over these preliminary figures with you today. So total taxable room revenues for June are over $50 million, and this sets a new record for June. This also ends up being the third highest month of total taxable room revenues on record. So as you can see, the 5% increase in total taxable room revenues is being driven by occupied rooms. Those were up about 5%, and the average daily rate was down 0.5%. And the clicker isn't working. All right, let's just give that a second to get fixed by IT. Maybe. There we go.
That's right.
Nope, one back. There we go. Perfect. So I wanted to look at occupied rooms by market segment. So as you can see in total, they're up about 5%, but there's some changes from segment to segment. The largest overall increases by segment were hotels and vacation rentals. Vacation rentals have been really strong coming out of the pandemic and continue that trend. That clicker doesn't work again. I guess I'll have Mike in that clicker since he has the magic touch. Great.
You want to click.
All right, I'll try for the next one. Let's see. So average daily rate, like I mentioned, that had a only 0.4% increase. We have some different trends within the market segments. Vacation rentals are actually down. We saw a huge surge in these rates after the pandemic. So we're starting to see those level off a little bit. And we're also seeing a lot more availability and competition in that segment. So we expect to see those rates trend a bit downward.
Give you a question?
It's your luck.
Push your button. Oh, sorry. Where's the, because I know where the brand hotels, are they under motel? For that ADR of 86.98 versus 97.
Yeah, so Robert can talk a little bit more about what's in each segment, yeah.
Robert, you have to speak up. No, they are in that.
Yes, yeah.
So the Marriott's.
Yeah, they're included in hotels, not with, yeah, since they're the larger properties with lobbies, they're included in the hotel segment.
So my question, it seems like it's a low room rate considering what, you know, the research we've done on the airport hotels there. I mean, that seems low, but that's just the whole region.
It's the average, yeah, so when you have like the larger properties like Hyatt with a really high rate, but if you have a property with a lower rate, that
It just
brings down the
down.
average, yeah, so it ends up just being the average over the total.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So here we have taxable room revenues by district. Every district saw an increase for June except for Washoe B. Again, Washoe B is down due to those rates decreasing. So here we have total fiscal year 23 room tax statistics. These again are preliminary, but for fiscal year 23, taxable room revenues are over $470 million. This sets a new record for a fiscal year, beating the record set in the previous fiscal year. This was driven by the average rates. As you can see, those are up over 5% and occupied rooms are relatively flat. So again, if we look at the trends by market segment, we talked about occupied rooms being relatively flat. However, by segment, there's some larger increases and decreases. Motels decreased largely due to decreased inventory, and vacation rentals continue to be really popular, seeing a large increase in occupied rooms. For the average rate, it was overall flat, but again, there are certain trends within the segments. Vacation rentals trending downward, hotels trending upward slightly. And here's total taxable room revenue by district. Every district saw an increase aside from Washoe A. Washoe A just saw very slight decreases in both occupied rooms and rates. So next, we also want to talk a little bit about IT, since that's another division of the finance department. IT has had a really big shift since our new IT manager, Chris Allison, started during March 2022. We really shifted to be more people-centric, focusing on a good user experience for our employees, just having a personal touch. We recently implemented a help desk that's been really successful, has a really good utilization rate from employees. So really, we just focus on good customer service while still being really efficient. New hires, we've gotten great feedback from them on giving them a choice of computer platforms when they start, because a lot of organizations just don't give you that option. So just focusing on a really positive user experience. The HR department's busy as usual. We wanted to talk about some of the new hires that HR has onboarded in the last month. Some of these are vacancies that were filled, and some of these are actually new positions, like our safety manager, Adam Greenfield, who started this week. A big focus for human resources in fiscal year 24 is going to be on employee engagement. After the facilities transition, we grew really rapidly as an organization. We have employees working at multiple sites. So we really want to focus on bringing employees together, boosting employee engagement, and just that team feeling. So first thing we're doing this year is our summer outing. That's going to be held during August 2023. We did extend an invitation to the board. So if you're free that day, feel free to come to the ACES Stadium and spend time with our employees.
Date on that again.
August 8th.
Thank you.
And some other initiatives this year, like I mentioned, HR is really going to be focusing on employee engagement. Another way that we're going to be doing this is through establishing an employee recognition program. So this program is going to allow employees to be nominated by their peers and by supervisors for work that goes above and beyond. We're also implementing an anniversary program. Especially with the facilities coming back, we have some employees who are going to be celebrating really big milestone anniversaries, 15, 20 year plus. So we just want to make sure we have something in place to recognize their dedication to our organization for that many years. So turn it over to Christina.
Yeah, and I've already touched on these next two initiatives a little bit, but one of them is to refresh our branding at all of our venues and facilities. And one of them including is this building. I don't know if anyone has walked in some of the hallways, but we could use some artwork and branding and just, make it a better experience when employees come to work, when clients come to visit, and just across our facilities, across our venues. Another one, we kind of touched on what we're doing here in the community, but really engaging more with the community, bringing a better experience to both the visitors and the residents, get everyone on Team Reno Tahoe and promoting that this is a great place to live and visit. And then also another initiative, what we're trying to do is get our staff and team out in the community more volunteering, whether it's cleaning up at Lake Tahoe or doing a river cleanup or going to a food bank, just looking at volunteering and getting out more in the community as well as a team.
Thank you. The regular department updates, obviously the goal is to continue this format if the board agrees. I hope you appreciate the engagement, and we definitely appreciate the Q&A directly to the department heads. We will continue to have these on a monthly basis and provide, as it's relative on production or activities or future initiatives. We'll make sure we share that with the board. We are in the process of creating a venue activation plan. So all of our venues have the opportunity to grow activation from the RSCC to the National Bowling Stadium to the Reno Event Center to the Livestock Event Center. So this plan is to create daily, monthly, annual activities within our facilities above and beyond what we already do. And the facility and sales events team, marketing, and our contracted food provider, Aramark, are working in collaboration, to come up with plans to drive basically volume into all our activities besides what we already do today. For those of you that are not familiar with pre-cons, so pre-con meeting provides the opportunity for us to meet with our clients prior to the start of their program. And we have basically every facility operational department present in these meetings, from events to operations to audiovisual to security to outside medical services. And the purpose is to really walk through the entire program. The RSCVA in the past is we were pretty good at doing pre-cons in the convention center, but we were not doing pre-cons in our other building. Moving forward, we'll be holding pre-cons for every event and every facility so that we ensure that the client knows that we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's for their event. Advertising, sponsorship, and RSC suite plan. So through Renee McGinnis and Christina Ernie, we are tasking these departments to work together to come up with rate plans and rate cards to promote advertising within our facilities, also looking at sponsorship opportunities. And as it relates to the REC suite sales, we are in the process right now of reconciling invoices from our contracted suite holders for this past year, and we're also updating the contracts for these suite holders moving forward. There again, Renee McGinnis and her team are responsible for coming up with pricing and packages, both for individual events that take place within the Reno Event Center and also on an annual basis. Right now, we have 2 clients that currently hold suite contracts, and our goal is to expand that, or at a minimum, make sure that we're selling these suites for individual events within the Reno Event Center. And then the last comment is just that I just want to remind everybody that we sent out an email with all of our activities and events for trade shows and industry shows and client events that are happening for the rest of this fiscal year. We encourage you to participate. We'd love to have board activity. I know you have all very busy schedules, but to really see what our teams do and how we do it, I think would go a long way. And it definitely helps us from a standpoint of closing business when we have representatives of the community there with us. So that concludes our staff update. I know that went a little longer than anticipated. I promise, Chair, we will get better. We will shorten it up. But in close, I just wanted to thank the board for the support and specifically the senior leadership team the last 28 days. It's been amazing. We're working together, we're engaged, we're collaborated, and we're all driven for a common goal. So thank you.
Yeah, great information. Went slightly over your 20 minutes that you promised.
It's a Q&A.
Well, it was, and I think that's important. So we had good board involvement with the whole process. So thank you all for your presentations. We are going to move on to item F. Review, discussion, and possible action to approve and award the request for proposal 2023 for the Venus Park Convention Visitors Authority Executive Search Firm. You need to share something, Mr. Kennedy. Someone? Yeah. No, that's. Okay. We do have both of our firms that presented in May for our new board members. We have a full presentation with both DHR and Winners partners that were here, traveled here, gave a presentation at our May meeting to consider the RFP for our executive search firm. And we have, I did not want to ask them to travel again. At that meeting, the motion was made and asked to postpone the decision for choosing one of these firms to today's meeting. We wanted to have our new board members part of that process. And so that's where we are today. So we have DHR and Winners on board. And I think we're going to go ahead and start with DHR. And I think we have 2 people on with DHR. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then whichever one is making the actual presentation. It's all yours. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jessica Bayer from DHR for the record, and I have 2 of my colleagues with me. Oh, Heather, you're on mute.
Thank you, Jessica. Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Smith for the record as well.
Hi, this is Christine Gravy for the record.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having us again. And we're going to move pretty quickly through the presentation because of time. But I wanted to just start and let you know. So when we originally received the RFP for the Reno Tahoe pitch, we immediately looked around the DHR network to see who had completed the most relevant searches. And that's how we approached our first conversation with you. But after attending the last board meeting and getting to know you all and meeting current, former, and prospective residents and following you on social media, which great work, by the way, we were able to really understand that there are more challenges than we originally thought. So we decided to reapproach our search. We understand that this person that you all are going to place may not necessarily be a sitting CEO at a similar company or at a similar DMO. So this search is not narrow. We shouldn't only be looking at previous CEOs who have held the positions. This is a diverse search. There are some big expectations for this CEO, and it's a critical time for you all. So we changed our approach and put together a team of partners with relevant experience, but also a team of partners who can support and navigate the nuances of the board, understand the board members' individual priorities, and help everyone get into this on the same page. This is also a team who can navigate the market and bring a diverse set of game-changing CEO candidates to the table, and a team that is experienced in leadership development and managing an onboarding process to ensure the new CEO is set up for success. So before we get into DHR, let's introduce the team. So as I mentioned, I'm Jessica Bayer. I lead the communications and marketing executive search function at DHR. I recruit chief communications officers, chief marketing officers, and presidents and CEOs of marketing and communications companies. My colleague, Andrea Bricca, who was at the last board meeting, unfortunately is unable to attend today. She is physically flying in the air right now, but she is our Nevada expert. She lives in Las Vegas, and she leads our legal and entertainment practice. And I'll let Heather and Christine introduce themselves.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Heather Smith. I'm in our board and CEO practice, a leader of CEO succession and board placement. And I am based in Chicago, happens to be our world headquarters as well. Pleasure to be with you today.
And I'm Christine Graby. I'm based out of LA. And I've actually spent a lot of my time in Asia, so bring very much a global perspective. And my focus is to lead our leadership and consulting practice. So the focus there is on looking at everything from onboarding to coaching to, board effectiveness, organizational design, and a range of other services.
Great. So let's talk about some of DHR's differentiators. So DHR is a global executive search firm. We have 500 employees around the world, 50 offices, 22 countries, and 200 partners with unique areas of expertise. We also have the best research function in the industry. So in the search, we will utilize the full capacity of our network, leaning on every partner's network to ensure we can reach every single person we want to reach. And the really unique thing about DHR is while we have this network, our partners like to do the work, and we love doing the work. So the 4 people in this presentation will be your day-to-day contacts. We will be with you in lockstep through the process. We will interview every single candidate, and we will make sure that every candidate has a positive experience and you all as clients have a positive experience. And the final differentiator, which is huge, we guarantee every placement we make for 2 years. So our success is not placing a candidate. Our success is seeing a lasting candidate really bring you all to where you want to go in the next 3 to 5 years. So I'll let Christine continue and tell you a little bit more.
Thank you. So a little bit about, we pride ourselves in having a global footprint and having access, and we really look at knowledge and understanding of sectors, bringing people together that have the right skills, but also doing fresh research. We're a very research-based organization, very strategic about our approach. We also focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, making sure that we are providing a diverse slate of candidates. It is something that is in our DNA, and we pride ourselves in doing that on every search. And then lastly, we have, 20 industries and functional areas. So those different practices allow us to lean on each other, to get insight, to get access, and to really make sure that we get to the right candidates, because we're after passive candidates. That is what we look at. And I think that brings a very unique perspective, is the research focus, the global footprint, and just the diversity of practices and focus of the firm. Heather, why don't you talk a bit about process?
Yes, great. Thank you. First, let's start a little bit about how we would work with you. I think one of the most important things to know is that we understand that our brand, your brand, becomes our brand. So we're really representing you in the marketplace. And it's extremely important to feel comfortable and confident with the executive search partners that are representing you both in the marketplace and with each candidate. And so we just want to ensure that we understand that, and that that is really a critical piece of how we work. We also work smartly and agile with agility. And I would say we begin with a very clear strategic approach to a search. And then as we get out into the marketplace, we take those learnings and calibrate back with you and adjust our process or our strategy according to what we're hearing and learning in the marketplace. Transparency is key, and we're one team. We'll be working alongside of your search committee, the part of the board that you designate to really be day-to-day with us in this search. And we'll create a regular reporting cadence so that there's clear communication and progress is shared regularly on an ongoing basis. And then finally, a bespoke approach. We'll sit down with your search committee and make sure that the bundled services that Christine mentioned and the search process that we'll be talking about is combined in order to deliver exactly what you need in this next CEO. I'll talk a little bit about the detail of the process, and then we'll save some more of that detail for Q&A according to what you feel you really need to know. I'll walk you through just 4 big pieces of the process and the way we work. When we kick off a search, the most important piece of any search, we believe, is really how we begin that search. And we start with interviewing the board, interviewing key constituents so that we understand these varying perspectives. And we work from the very beginning to make sure there's, alignment among the board members and inside and outside of the company for what we are going to be looking for. We then formulate white paper findings and share that back with the search committee or the board in its entirety to say, here's what we heard, here's where we have alignment, here's how we're going to begin to strategize this search. And that's a very important piece of the process. And from that process, we develop a position specification. And so we'll take into account there, what does the current CEO need to do? What's the future of the organization? 3 to 5 years from now, we heard things in your presentation already about relationships, attracting Coca-Cola, relationships with airlines. Those are important things for us to understand because the CEO will inevitably need to be a part of bringing some of those goals and strategic plans to fruition. After that stage, we begin to identify candidates and sources that we'll use to identify a long list of potential candidates. And it's important that we take time to calibrate those profiles upfront with you so that, again, we're reassuring that we're on the same page before we really jump in full on to a search. After that, we'll be qualifying candidates and recruiting them. Again, it's very important for you all to know who's representing you in the marketplace, who's reaching these candidates. We'll be reaching people we know, people known to DHR in the firm, people known in our network. And then, as Christine said, research. Who do we need to get to know that we don't know today? You may not know today, but we've realized we need to get to know them and vet them through the process. And then finally, your selection. You'll be interviewing. We'll be guiding you to make sure your board is on the same page and ready to interview. We'll be referencing and we'll lead you right through to the end of a finalist candidate being voted on by the full board. And then from there, we're talking about adding some onboarding and some other services to really ensure a proper selection and a very successful start and long-term candidate placement. Christine, maybe this is a good time for you then to talk a little more about that piece of our project.
Sure, happy to do that. Thank you. So what we looked at is, given the history and the information that was shared with us through various conversations, as well as the previous meeting, is onboarding and success of the candidates going to be really critical. So we've decided to bundle our onboarding into our search fee and provide a 90-day onboarding program. And really what it is to look at, how do we increase the success of the candidate? How do we create longevity? And how do we ensure that this CEO is meeting the expectations? And the approach that we take is we start out with an intake call, and that intake call with the board will build on the search that has occurred, all the information that has been gathered by the search team, and then understanding what are the goals and objectives? Has anything changed throughout that search process? What does success look like? What is predictive performance that you would like to see, and also based on any assessments that we've utilized, where are some of the gaps or areas for development of the candidate? No person is going to be perfect. So there will always be some areas where we can support them and shore up their skill set to ensure that they are successful. So that is really part of the intake process. Once we've got that clear understanding and we've had the board's input and participation in that, we'll put together a strategy for this onboarding engagement. That will do a couple of things, clarifying expectations, understanding culture, helping the person with looking at how they facilitate relationships, stakeholder management, working with the public, and putting together an ongoing development plan for that individual. Obviously, that'll take about 90 days. There is the opportunity to expand that service and to look at, how they're doing, and that would be additional services. But the whole intent is to really get that intake, have that strategy, and then work with the CEO to see how they can be as successful as possible, meet the expectations of peers, stakeholders, direct reports, and really enable them to have the skills to be as successful as possible and stand behind our placement. We want to make sure that this person is successful. You're not rotating them out in 2 years' time, but you're able to have them in for more than one term. And so that's the process we look at. And I hope that will help you to see that you have the confidence in the outcome of the CEO, because that's the intent of an onboarding process. It's been proven time and again that, if you provide people with better skills and support at the C-suite, they are going to be more successful. The most difficult period is the first 90 days to 180 days, because these are new senior leaders coming into organizations, and it is very common these days to try and look at ways to shore up their success so that you do have the best outcome.
So now we'll go to any questions that you have. I don't know if you'd like us to talk about fees, but let us know what you'd like to know.
Maybe you start with fees and then I'll move to Mr. J. If you have a question, let's go ahead and go to fees and then I'll open it up for some questions.
You want to take that, Jessica?
Yes, please.
So our fees are third, and we estimate that it'll be 100,000 for this search. And what we've done is bundle the onboarding into that, so there won't be any additional fees for providing that service to enable success.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You got it.
It is fee related. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it's fee related. I will go to Mr. Squag and then I'll go to Mr. J.
I didn't have my light on, so that's okay.
You were okay, Mr. Squag.
No, and thank you. I appreciate everybody's time on this and everybody taking a piece. You mentioned it the third, so obviously there's an assumption of what the salary is. But also I just want to touch on, isn't there was there also a percentage fee for administrative, or is that what you're considering? I thought there was a 12% administrative fee on the
Yes.
total, is that correct?
Yes, so there's a administrative fee on the fee. So if we estimate the fees 100,000, then there would be 12% of that. And that will include all of our tools. So we will be doing a leap assessment on the candidate. We could even include something like a Hogan to give you predictive behavior on the person. So all of that is bundled into that administrative fee.
So 112,000 technically, right, roughly?
Just as, I mean, that is a discussion that could be had around, if that's are we benchmarking at the right level? There is the interest in, we would consider making it a fixed fee, but, we estimate it would be 100,000 plus the 12, which is 112.
And just while I have the board, if I could, and I don't know who this question would go out to. With your experience in similar destinations and DMOs and other even outside, I mean, are we in the proper range on our compensation? I think we look to you for some of that input.
Yeah, Jessica, we've had this discussion. Yes.
So feel free, Heather, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think after when we first looked at this opportunity, we also went back and looked at some of the work that we've done, but also some of these out of the box candidates that we would want to consider and present to you. There's nothing like market feedback. So, but we agree we think you're in the right target market compensation wise, and then we'll be giving you feedback directly from the market, depending on the type of candidate that looks most interesting to you. And that's also Christine's fee is a bit based on, given your parameters there.
Mr. J.
Great. Excuse me, thank you very much, Richard J. For the record. Talk to me just briefly about the level of depth that you go to in a background check.
I can take that. So depending on the organization, the history of the organization, the candidate profiles that we're looking at, that can vary quite significantly, but our standard model is gold level checking. So we do a complete background check, credit, drug testing, the full gamut of everything most everything that's available in the marketplace. And then reference checking, we do both references known to the finalist. We wait on that until we really truly have the finalist candidate. And then we also do what we call blind referencing. So calling our own sources that were not provided by the candidate to ask a further detailed questions.
How far back do you go in your check? How many years? All the way back to college?
Yes, all the way back. Yes, we do reference and background check that their universities are legitimate, that they have the degrees that they have purported to have, as well as any criminal activity that dates all the way back through their history.
And final question, thank you. You do a social media complete background check as well?
Yes, in this case, we would recommend that. We don't always do that, but it's called a social media scrub. And in this case, we would absolutely want to do it. For high profile, very public figures, we always recommend that that's done in addition.
I would highly recommend that in this day and age. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Sheedy?
Yeah, thank you. I'm curious, how much government placement have you had and experience that you have had? Because one of the things that I've sat through, I've been on this board now, I think 10, 11 years now, probably the longest serving board member. One of the things that I notice is that there doesn't seem to be a deep understanding of what that looks like to work within inside a quasi government board. Tell me, give me your experience with that.
I'll take that, Heather. So I'm based in Washington, DC. So for 20 years, I've been working across government, public and private sectors. Last year, conducted several searches with FDA and specifically the Center for Devices and Radiological Health during COVID, which was very intense. We understand the reporting structure. We understand how involved and specific and every single detail needs to be tracked and looked at. And it's something that I personally have been doing for 20 years, but several other of our team members have been involved in government as well.
Okay, great. And then also, have you spoken to any of our board members?
I have spoken to the chair, and I think that also Andrea has had some experience with them.
And who would they be?
Just the chair. We're following the guidelines.
Okay. All right, no further questions.
Oh, board member East has a question.
Okay, Mr. East.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. And mine is, my question kind of piggybacks on Mayor Sheevy's, which is when we think about, you mentioned in your pitch that there are nuanced differences and challenges associated with this position. And as I look through the representative assignments, I see some things that might catch my eye and say, yeah, they're comparable. But back to sort of Mayor Sheevy's question too, can you point us to an example of a recent assignment that you've had that syncs up well with this position? And can you talk about that a little bit, maybe expound on what some of those challenges were and what that process looked like?
I can take a very recent one. The CEO of Catholic Charities, following a beloved CEO, long time. I know that's not exactly the current situation, but I think over time, stepping into a very public role with a big agenda, important to step in and understand where the organization is today, but also as we begin to hear where the organization is going. And background check, someone who's very credible, has a very clean record, is very ethical, a very strong leader, is able to listen and really get a very good sense early on in those first 90 days Christine mentioned of managing a number of constituents, both a team of leaders with a lot going on in marketing and also getting hands around finance, extremely important. And it would be easy to go to other similar organizations or only look within a very obvious network of where this person could come from. In addition, we had an internal candidate and a pretty qualified internal candidate who actually had a lot of internal support for the role, as well as some board members who had put names forward for potential candidates to be considered. So in that case, and always we recommend treating everybody equally from the start, getting them involved in the process. The most important part of either recommendations or internal candidates is helping them feel like they're being fairly evaluated against anyone externally. And we have real success there in that environment. And I believe that's part of the start of that process was really getting the board aligned for what we would be looking for. And then also taking very seriously the public nature of the position and the importance to the organization of how that person is, who that person is and how they're represented.
I would add to what you said. I think two things you also did there is you included an assessment tool to help give an objective view, because in this role, the EQ was very important. So we used EQI to help determine the 6 candidates you have and, how do they fit? What are their patterns? Where could some of their challenges lie? And you also utilized a presentation, gave everyone an opportunity to present. So, you can build in what's needed based on the board intake to ensure that you're getting a very clear and consistent picture of each person. So you're not just hiring because you like certain things. You're really actually getting a fair and objective view.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Murdoch, do you have a question?
Yes. So what do you as an agency tell the people, potential candidates? What do you talk about? What's the compensation package that you're using? Or have we?
We haven't decided.
So we haven't proved that, but the point is that they probably, as you're qualifying them, you've got to have a number. So are you using any kind of a compensation number or package?
Yeah, we typically ask what they're looking for. A lot of states have legality and legal issues around asking current compensation. So the model that we use is asking what the compensation is that they're targeting. And then as the process goes on and you're getting people excited about the opportunity, we talk more about the full package of the opportunity in the future and then get more into compensation. But that's how we approach initial conversations, is in understanding what they're looking for and making sure it's not too far either way out of the spectrum.
And as we are a quasi-governmental, there is, when you look at the rates in the whole state of comparable or whatever, it's kind of important that, we're looking at that. Hopefully you guys keep it in that realm of.
Yeah. Well, any smart candidate can, since all of the salaries are public, can look at what people in these roles make and usually have a perspective.
Yeah, and it's all about just what they make, but what the bonus structure, everything to make. I think that's so very important. All right, thank you very much.
And I think I want to add on that this role is going to be I think a passion project for someone. And if someone's too wrapped around the axle when it comes to compensation, they may not be the right person for the role. There is a huge opportunity with you all to make an impact, and listening to the marketing campaigns and everything that you're doing. This is someone's dream job, and bringing someone who can add value, really promote the region, and really bring in the partners that you're looking for. It's going to be someone who cares more about the mission than the compensation.
And if I can add to that point, part of the process, and if you look at both firms and what's been done in the past, which legal can advise me here, that's part of the process. One of the first steps is that we would sit down to look at what that compensation package, what the range would be, what the benefits of what we've had in the past, and then what we're looking at as we move forward as part of the steps that we'd be working with Mr. Kennedy. What they've done in the past is you set that up, working with whatever firm we choose, is one of the first steps that the search committee would be doing.
Sure, and I can add that a little bit. So I think what we're really doing today is we're selecting one of the two firms. Once that selection is made, I'll work with them to sort of come up with a roadmap that complies with open meeting law, that sort of addresses the board's concerns. And one of those milestones on that roadmap will be the board sort of signing off on that comp range. Just so the firm knows sort of what their parameters are, what they're working with. So we don't have them bring a bunch of candidates whose salary expectations don't meet with what the board is willing to pay. So that's just all part of that process. They would make the selection, and it'll come back to the board with sort of a detailed roadmap of how we get from hiring the firm to making an offer to a candidate.
Thank you. Mayor Sheedy?
I would just say if there's no more questions, then we're gonna bring it back to the board. Is that where we're at now?
Yeah, we've got another presentation. Are we good with DHR? Anyone else have comments or questions?
So,
okay.
Again, just saying that I've been here probably the longest, and I've watched us go through CEO after CEO after CEO. That is no secret. I think this is very, very important, and I am a little disappointed because I kind of wanted to have, we actually have almost, a huge turnover on this board. We have brand new board members sitting down in these seats. And it kind of feels like I'm not sure how we got here. I know how we got here, but I feel like they might not know how we got here. And so I don't think there was enough discussion of what this board really wanted to see. We're gonna make a very important decision. I think if we continue to do the same things over and over again, we're gonna get the same results. I've watched it over and over again. We have done nothing different, nothing. And and you guys know me, I call the elephant out in the room. So with that being said, I'd also like to know what the new board members want to see, because you guys have fresh ideas and eyes that we probably get, maybe I've been on too long. But I think we get a little bit focused too much on just other things that are happening with inside this board, and you guys have a fresh perspective. I don't know what you want to see. I think that is super important as we move forward, but I'm just going to tell you, we are repeating the same process over and over, and the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. And one of the things I want to understand is process. It was never explained to me. That's why I asked if they've had conversations with you, kind of how we got here. The other thing is, we've been told, and I think it's really ironic, oh, no one will want to come to Reno. No one will want that job because you guys are dysfunctional. Guess what? Not true at all. When you wave a big carrot like we've been doing for so long in front of people, they're like, yes, but not only that, people love Reno. You saw the proof was in the pudding this morning. Record levels. We're a breakout city. I mean, we're on the map nationally. You have no idea. We're like top, I think, 3 in medium-sized cities. So I don't buy that Reno's so dysfunctional. That was something that, previous people would like to believe. That is not the case. That is not true. Not to mention, for me personally, and I've been very vocal about this, I want to also know who loves Reno, who lives here, who's committed, who's staying here. That is one element we have completely missed. Now, maybe they aren't local, but I would just say give them a shot, because we tend to think that people outside the market are smarter than we are. I don't know why that is, because we've got massive amounts of talent. I sit, next to massive, big CEOs that know data and numbers and some of the most talented. And so, and you guys are born and raised here, am I right?
You guys all frozen? Is it just
Matt,
me?
No.
Madam Chair, I think they are froze. I think you guys are frozen. We cannot hear anything from the room any longer. Like we lost the mothership.
It was just getting good.
Maybe we could stay here for a little while, and not super long, but.
Yeah, maybe till about 11:30.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, this is John. I just texted him.
Thank you.
Sounds like they're taking a 5-minute break and are rebooting the system.
For the update.
How much of that did they miss? I don't know.
It was like a minute.
Okay. I've got several board members that are on a shot clock right now. So we need to keep moving. We have a second presentation.
Okay, wait.
I want to go to, I don't want to lose second presentation. I don't want to lose board members before we go.
Can I make just one,
Okay.
10 seconds? I agree with Mayor Hillary 100%. We've been in a box. It's time to step out of it.
Okay, but we can discuss
Yeah,
that at
we
the
do,
end
but
of
I
this.
just want to throw that.
And right, and we need to give the
I get it, but let me just.
courtesy of the other firm.
Let me tell you what's
That's not
problematic.
presented,
We should
so-
have had a discussion amongst the board, really, because we have new board members. That would have been really good for collaboration. My issue with that is moving forward. I think we should all understand the process. I don't know what that looks like. I had heard that it had only been like a 2-week process to look for some of these firms. I don't know if that's true. Is that true, Courtney?
It did. So we had to work backwards from the board meeting where we were told to have this ready to present. So that left a 2-week window when working with NRS requirements for leaving time for questions, proposals, time to
So
evaluate.
2 weeks to submit. So that's what is also problematic.
Okay,
You
and
can't
you know
do
what?
it 30 days. So
I
I'm
need-
just saying, as we move forward, and it's not fair to have them present, because now what you're doing is you're kind of opening.
What we were doing, Mayor Stevie, is we were following the board vote that happened in May, that you made the motion. An agenda item we had in May. And today, when we had new board members. So we are.
I also said, I also said get the new board member up to speed and what they want to see. I asked you for that.
Well, and we.
Madam Chair, I'd like a call of order, please. Can we get this back on schedule? This board should have taken care of this when this board had it in front of them 2 months ago. It was asked to be delayed by folks around the table. It was delayed. We need to take care of this. We need to get this search going, and we need to move forward for this organization. I'd like to get the point of order back on the discussion so we can hear the other presentation and move forward. Thank you.
We do need to move to the other presentation, and then I'll address your questions following that. And just FYI, there were pre-board meetings and on-board meetings that I had with staff with our new board members. They've been onboarded, they've been pre-boarded. So we have, and I want their input here too. I would like to move to Tina Winters and Winters Partner. Can you give us a good but concise presentation so that we're able to move forward to make a decision here? Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. For the record, I'm Tina Winter. I'll have my colleagues introduce them or sign in.
For the record, Stephen Oberhofer, Managing Partner.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis Tracy, Destination Marketing Organization Partner.
Thank you, team. Again, thank you to the board of directors and participants today. We're excited to be back and see the team again after being there in May. An introduction to Winter Partners. We are a certified woman-owned executive search and recruitment firm. We're headquartered in St. Petersburg, Florida. We bring together a collaborative platform of talented search consultants that have extensive years in the field. Our platform is one where we bring in subject matter experts from industry, those that have served in leadership roles with organizations like yours around the country. Our tip of the spear for experience is with organizations that are creating economic impact in their communities, and that could be through traditional economic development, tourism, sports, and we do have expertise on our team from each of those categories. The team that would come to RSCVA to execute a proven search process would be myself. I'm the managing partner and co-founder of Winter Partners, along with Stephen Oberhofer, who is my co-founder. Between the two of us, we have over 40 years of executive search experience. We layer that in with our dedicated diversity, equity, and inclusion search partner who has 25 years in diversity recruiting. Dennis Tracy, who you see on the screen today, our destination marketing partner, and our economic development partner. We feel like those 4 individuals will bring you the best and the brightest candidates, a proven process that will be facilitated for your organization, and experience in the not only the DMO space, but public entity as well. We do have a track record in this sector of destination marketing organizations. We've worked with large organizations such as Visit Phoenix, that would be the largest, public entities like South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority, which is also a quasi government agency. We're currently working with the city of Galveston, Visit St. Pete Clearwater, which is under the Pinellas County leadership for their destination marketing organization, and Miami-Dade County, working with their Parks, Rec, and Open Spaces organization. I'm going to turn the floor over to my partners to do further introductions on their areas of expertise, and then Stephen will walk us through some process. Thank you.
Dennis, go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
Thanks, Stephen. And my name is Dennis Tracy. It's a pleasure to see everyone that we met recently at the board meeting and welcome new board members. I love the new format, but first I got to give a virtual fist bump to brother Sean. Just kidding, we're no relation, but we do spell our names the same way, which is kind of unusual. Even in my own family, we've got family members who spell their name differently. But anyway, it was a pleasure to see the new format, and I really enjoyed sitting through the reports because I am, in fact, a lifelong DMO guy. Even occupancy numbers and stuff still get me kind of jazzed up because I did it for years. I understand what you're talking about. I recognize the processes and even the acronyms. Christina, I was also at DI. I must have missed you last week, but it was kind of hot in Dallas, but I certainly enjoyed the conference. They did an amazing job, and it was a pleasure to be there. I started out my career in the hospitality industry in hotels. I worked with Westin Hotels and was trained the Westin way for a number of years. I was mainly in sales and marketing. I started out in operations, but I was in sales and marketing with Westin Hotels. I went to a major attraction in Cincinnati, which was my hometown. I still live in Cincinnati, and I opened a major attraction that was kind of a once-in-a-lifetime deal. So I spent 10 years there learning the attraction side, the tourism and travel side. I always knew I wanted to go to the DMO world. I worked at the Cincinnati Convention and Visitors Bureau for 10 years. I relocated around. I worked at Little Rock CVB, which has a system very similar to what you folks do in terms of how you collect your monies and how you distribute your money, report to a tourism, a TDA, they called it. I also worked in Jacksonville, Florida, who also was a quasi-government operation, and they reported to a TDA as well. I kind of started to think about retirement, found Tina and Stephen, and started working on this side of the equation in an executive search firm. I love it. It gives me a chance to stay in an industry I'm passionate about. It gets me good. It allows me to go to the conferences and see people like Christina and friends. We've had great success in the tourism destination marketing search organization. We're very proud of our results. We consider some of the boards we've worked with our new best friends. We would be happy to use them as references, and we're really pleased with the success we've had. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dennis. So Stephen Oberhofer, I've been in executive search over half my life, which is scary to say. So I can't bring the expertise like Dennis brings in terms of subject matter. Got my start with a global firm, so classically trained. Left the global firm after making great connections with Tina and others that we brought on to our organization. Felt like it was a little bit too transactional, but still have that very data-driven approach to executive search, very research-driven, but also relationship-driven. To the mayor's point and to others here, you need to do things a little bit differently, or you are going to get the same result. So as part of our process, we absolutely not only consider but seek out local talent. We have experience working in large markets like Tinesa, but also markets like your own, where Some find it challenging to attract people to those locations. I think once you get to know an organization, a community, and a location, there are great things to attract people, if that is in fact the case we want to go. But we want to give you choices, hard choices in a good way, to make sure that you can find the best candidate, whether that's local or national. In terms of process, I don't want to bore you and go through every single detail. We take a similar approach in terms of the classic research and recruiting. What we bring that's a little bit different is actual experience with DMOs in I hate to even call Reno Tahoe a second tier city, but in cities similar to your organization. We understand how to work in the quasi-government space, and the information gathering and sharing that goes along in that space. We have a long track record of people being successful, staying with organizations for a long time. We provide a guarantee as well. We very rarely use it, but everything's built on a foundation of understanding. Every search firm is going to interview the board, the executives, the executive committee. We do listening sessions with the general community as well, stakeholders who are supportive. Those are interesting and okay, but also with those that are maybe less supportive of the organization, to really get buy-in and understanding of what candidates are walking into. And that's really half the battle, in terms of even local candidates may not understand all the internal politics to an organization. So we really start from an understanding, then we go into recruitment and attraction mode. We have a multi-tiered process where candidates work with several different people for us to do our evaluation process and also build their value proposition as we go through. We do all the background checks, social media, we find that super important. And then we certainly stay with candidates as well all the way through the process. Again, I don't want to, we kind of detail in our proposal all the steps. And, again, I'm happy to address and answer any questions. Tina says I'm the process guru, but I'm kind of the process nerd, if I'm being honest. So happy to address any and all questions with you folks. We understand the challenges, but having talked to people in market, I can tell you that there's a lot of opportunities in Reno Sparks. So we're excited to even be considered.
Well, and just to add to that, Stephen, I think that Tina and I sort of already started the process a little bit. We went and visited every one of your assets while we were there. We got a chance to talk to some of the folks on the side that were kind enough to let us in and show us around and talk to us. So, I feel like we're kind of familiar with your assets already in terms of the things that you market and sell.
Absolutely. Great point, Dennis. We did have that time as boots on the ground to really take a tour around and see the beautiful things that Reno has to offer as a destination, both for leisure and business travel. Also, as evidenced by the staff report today, things are in great shape. And that's something that a search firm loves to see, is that an organization that isn't broken. You all are having very successful numbers, and it's something for the next leader to come in and build upon. And those are great things. So thanks to Mr. Harris for leaving the organization in good shape, and you're in good hands with Michael as the interim moving forward. I also want to say, because there has been a big focus on the local candidate market, and we feel that's really important. It's nothing like home field advantage, right? For someone to come in and have an understanding of what's happening in the local community and really loves that area and can bring that to fruition. I will share with you the example with the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority. We ended up with only local candidates as a finalist, but we did compare them and contrast them to the national leaders, and they ended up selecting 2 finalists who were local candidates. And the president and CEO, happy to report, was former mayor of Crown Point, Indiana. He became the president and CEO of the Convention and Visitors Authority. He's doing a great job. He was one that really supported the visitor economy and grew assets within their sports and recreation area. And he had a lot of great examples that were really relevant. It resonated with our team, and we did see the value in his candidacy very early so that we could continue in that dialogue. There aren't a lot of great innovative things in executive search. We understand people, and so do our folks and peers at DHR. What we want to bring to you is a process that takes the heavy lifting from this board of directors. You're busy with many different initiatives in your day job, and this does take up a significant time in your volunteer activities. What we want to do is bring you a process that will come to fruition with an ability to select from the best leaders from around the country, and whether they come from your local market or somewhere far away. You will have information in order to make a good decision at the end of that process. That's our goal for you. We're happy to address any other questions that you have and appreciate your time and attention today.
Tina, could you start with, I believe in your proposal, what your proposed fee would be?
Absolutely. Based on previous information that we gathered about the compensation of the previous leaders there, we came up with a flat fixed fee of $80,000 to conduct the search. That would include background checks, assessments, reference checks, and we do not have an administrative fee. Typically that represents indirect expenses related to the search, so those are built into our fixed fee. The only additional cost would be candidate and consultant travel, which we would get pre-approved and bill at cost.
Okay, do I have any questions for Tina and her team? Mr. J.
Thank you. Same question asked both groups. How deep do you go in your background check?
So Stephen, back me up here. We have credit, criminal, educational verification, employment verification, the social media and online footprint. I think there is a social security number verification as well, and driving record.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, just to keep, like Richard said, to keep it consistent, where do you see our compensation package as a whole? Like, are we in the right spot? You know, you're a flat fee, so it's not as you're not being driven off the actual total package, it appears. But what's your take and what you've seen out in the workplace?
I think the compensation that you had for Mr. Harris was very competitive in the marketplace. But we also want to hear what you're thinking about compensation. We have a lot of information given that we've been active in the market. We are doing real-time salary surveys as we're talking with candidates. We know what they are earning in comparable organizations. Yours is a larger one. There are other elements of the role that we have to take into account with the responsibilities, because not one person leading a DMO is going to be successful in yours, because there are other elements to this job that come into account that people in a traditional DMO are not going to have that experience. And we will do the same for you. As we are going to market, we will get current compensation. It is an ever-changing thing. If you have a compensation report on your desk today, it is out of date by the next day, because there are different factors at play. And we want to make sure that it's a compensation package that you're comfortable with moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let me just say that I think they're both totally capable. I really like what Winter is saying, Winter Partners, a lot. I want to go back to process, because like I said, I've been through a lot of these. And one of the things is you don't typically have the other one in the room when they present. That is like not usually how you do that, because now, you know, you see both presentations, you're asking the same questions typically. So again, kind of going back to the process. I know that Winter was out here in Reno, and I can't remember, was the other one out here in Reno?
Yes.
So they both were in,
She came from
did they do site visits?
Winter said it.
Winter did the other one do a site visit?
No. I don't believe
Yeah,
so.
we didn't organize the site visits, Winter went to the sites on their own.
Yeah, they came in and
Organized
organized
those.
So one went to the site, went to our sites on their own?
Yes,
Yes.
they came a day
Is that
early.
part of the process? Like, is there anything in there, like? I think maybe the last ones, they all kind of visited, I don't know, like, is there something?
That wasn't part of the process, no, we did not ask them to do site visits, we did ask them to go through our point of contact, Jose, to coordinate any communication, but Winners did do the site visits on their own.
Okay, and then, again, will you clarify how long this RFP was out, in the market?
Yeah, absolutely, so we had to work backwards from the board meeting where we were asked to have this ready, so it only left a 2-week window to get responses from the, potential bidders.
Okay.
I would like input from our 2 new board members, Mr. Adler.
Okay. Well, you know, I think, from my perspective, literally brand new process.
Hang on a minute. Can I get everybody on Zoom to mute for me, please? Thank you. Go ahead.
I've been part of executive search processes before with out-of-state companies, with in-state companies. You know, no disrespect to any of the different firms, they're all saying very similar, great things. Very similar in design. I think a lot of it is incumbent upon how we as a board structure this process, what we're looking for. When Mayor Sheedy asked about some of the newbies to this board, what we're interested in. I'm a big fan of always looking to current staff. I like what current staff does and their creative design on what they do that works, and finding someone that fits their style to enhance and celebrate the successes we're already showing. So those are the things that I tend to look for. I love innovation and creativity in marketing who we are as a region. You know, it's one of those things that I wasn't born and raised here, but I absolutely love this place. And, you know, whenever I tell someone visit, come, everyone wants to move here because it's such an amazing place. And then when I have friends, I visit with a friend at 7 o'clock in the morning, who came for a conference at GSR, and they are sitting at, you know, thousands of people at GSR. They love it. And there's always that conversation about how do we come to this region. So my addition to this conversation is, you know, I look at these 2 firms. There's certain things I hear personally that sounds great, but I think it's coming upon us as a board and what our process looks like and what we're looking for. I know my specifics are gonna be different than everyone else on this this committee, but I recognize that the contribution, us guiding them is the most important thing. And I would probably just say, I think that we rely so much on staff and what they do. Their voice is also extremely important. We don't want to bring in someone that changes every single thing they do, and then we're going to be banging our head against the wall. So.
Appreciate your input. Mr. Jack.
Kind of following up, great points. I think you and I served on the superintendent with Kristen, and that was an interesting process. Having served on the airport CEO, which was even more interesting doing that during COVID, and it's given a lot of perspective. We just announced a new director of communications for the airport, reflecting Brian Coleman, who's been with us forever. And to your point, we had the staff really, really involved. We had 3 great candidates at the end. I mean, any one of those 3 would have done a fantastic job. But it came down to how the staff interacted with them during the interviews, because the staff is going to be with them every single day. And that's kind of what helped us make our final decision and who that person was. So I agree with you 100%. Staff is critical on this. And, you know, Mayor Phoebe, to your point too, is we have keep doing this. And, you know, it's time to kind of step outside of the box and say, okay, what do we want to do to keep a long-term CEO here that's gonna help us grow our community, help us grow conventions, you know, heads and beds, that's our goal, you know. Working with the airport, all this other stuff, and if we need to step outside of that box, I'd be willing to, you know, delay this a little bit, or just really make sure we're doing the right thing, and I don't know if I use the word delay correctly, but let's make sure we get it right this time, let's get staff really involved. Let's figure out what this board wants and get that candidate, whether it's local or national, we don't know. What are we doing to change the course and move forward? That's it.
Thank you. To speak to a couple of your points and just, today, we're looking at the search firm as we were in May. I couldn't agree with you more on the CEO. We need to do it differently because what we've done, the revolving door that's happened for a variety of reasons through 30 years probably. The CEO search itself, and both of these firms have offered stakeholders, but they talked about executive team being highly involved. They talked about the board being highly involved. They talked about our other stakeholders in the community, the importance of who we work with. But there is, both of them stressed the involvement of everyone sitting over here, as well as all of us in that process, because we've got to find, and I think they're both obviously aware of our history and what do we do differently to hire someone that's different than we hired before, that's bringing something new to the table, that this board also can shift how we work with the CEO is as important, and how this team works with the CEO. And I look at it as the relationships of all three, the new CEO, this board, and this team, and how we do that together to change what's happened in the past that for different reasons through history hasn't worked out. All of us looking anew and what can we do differently? We need to do something differently. And it's not just a search firm that determines that. It's really the important part that we're of it for me is the actual process of the search itself. And then all of our input in working with them and them being willing to listen to us, to listen to you, to listen to our stakeholders on what's important so that we can hopefully find that candidate that is going to change the script of how we've done things in the past. And I think, do I have Mr. Chapman? He had texted me. Does he have his hand up? Andy, are you on the phone? He was losing his.
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and I see your hand up.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I apologize. I'm in a tough situation with computers staying battery charged. But, you know, I think this conversation has been great, and I appreciate these two firms and the excellent work that they both do. And I understand the sensitivities of presenting at a public meeting with more than one firm, but that's the nature of the beast. You know, with that said, I think I would like to make a motion to accept the winner's proposal for the executive search firm for our CEO. Thank you.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Chair,
Yes.
I'm happy to make the second for discussion because I'd
Okay.
like to see if there's an opportunity. I feel comfortable moving ahead with winter, but I would like to also ask if the search process can be brought back to the board. Is that part of this, that we will have that full discussion?
Yes, that will be the process. Once a firm is selected, then we will work, Ben and I will work with them to, and the chair to come up with a process that will be proposed and have more discussion with the board. It talks about the compensation package. The overall position description needs to be looked at again to make sure that it is hitting the key points that the board wants to see in the candidates you are looking at. Because that should always be revisited as you're looking for somebody for these positions.
And that all comes back to the board for approval, yes.
And who is on the search committee? And
We have to
what community members can be part of the process and how they're part of the process, how we involve staff, all of that will be as part of a report that will come back to the board.
Exactly, the
Okay.
entire process through interviews. There's usually interviews initially that the search firm will conduct with
stakeholders and different things to kind of develop that overall profile of the type of person you're wanting, then that entire process, also the interview process and how that will be done, also with respect to public meeting and public meeting requirements with respect to all of those interview processes, et cetera. All of that will come back and that entire process will be approved by the board.
And I, Mr. Kennedy has something to add.
So I just want to make a suggestion, Mr. Chapman, for your motion. So I think the motion would be to select the winners group and give direction to the chair to work with legal to put together a contract and a proposal to come back to the board at a future meeting for approval. And I think that picks up everything Suzette just said.
Yeah.
Board member East has a question.
Yeah, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I didn't know if it was appropriate to excuse the two search firms if we have no further questions from them prior to voting on this.
Yes. So
Yes.
Yes.
yes, it's a public meeting, it's an open meeting, so they're welcome to log off, they're welcome to stay and observe. It's
Sure,
really there.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
Thanks,
that. Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion, a second, and Commissioner Hillary, did that answer what you were looking at?
Yes, I think to the mayor's point, to our new board member's point, it is board driven. I do think that we have two great firms that are offered to us today, and it is up to us to decide how we're gonna run this process. And I agree, we need to do it differently. And so I look forward to having a really robust discussion on the search process, because I think that the community is watching us and they want to see us do a really good process and hire a great leader for our region, because there's a lot of opportunity here. So that's why I wanted to clarify that. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Squaga.
No, I think it's important really to have comment from all of us on this, because, and I'm in agreement with much as, I'm good in moving forward. It does bother me on the 2-week window, and I think in hindsight, we would have played it differently. I think we did it to be rapid and quick behind the next CEO and in the big picture. That being said, I'm comfortable with either firm. I don't think our issues with the past CEOs has been from necessarily the wrong search firm. I think there's a lot more, there's a lot of variables, and we don't have enough time today to get into all that. But I think there is, and I'm with Member Hill on, we need to now, once we select, and I'm good with either firm. I think now we really put the screws to what the process is. I love the idea of incorporating, I think staff has to be there. I think the community needs to be there. I'm open as well. I think we have very talented people locally that would be in this spot. I also feel that we filled some recent positions. I look at our current athletic director at the airport. There's talent out there. I think there's things we have to look at this organization, but I'm good with moving forward, and I appreciate you moving this process.
Okay, and just to comment on that, Mr. Squaga, on the local, and I know you're pushing Mayor Sheeby, and I'm absolutely a local candidate. And they said they had placed 2 local candidates, and I think by doing a national search, if we wind up with a local candidate, it gives them the credibility when they've been, like she said, that they've done, it gives them more credibility than if we simply just go local and we didn't search beyond. And I too believe there's some talented people here that are passionate about this community, or people who moved here like Darren Griffin did, who fell in love with it, or Mike Kesmersky. So I really see that the local candidate, absolutely, and it helps for me that Winters has gone and done that already and wound up hiring somebody local, because then I think that local candidate gives them greater credibility from the get-go as they start out, and nobody's doubting that you just hired somebody that I know, and that's why they're there. So Mr. East, and then I'll come to Mayor Sheedy. Did you still have your hand up, Mr. East?
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, I agree. I think Winters is the stronger of the two. I just want to go back to my conversation with you, Madam Chair, and the staff during my orientation process, where we had this discussion and staff indicated that they felt like these 2 were not as strong as some of the others who did not have an opportunity to bid because of the timeline. And so if that's the case, and we want to respect the wishes and the desires of staff and their ability to work with this potential candidate, I would suggest that perhaps we should take some time to see if there are other firms out there that might be more well-equipped to complete this search for us well.
There she is.
I think they're both capable. I like Winter. I will say this. Because we've all talked about how important it was, and I think, Mr. Alvisser, are we saying his last name? Alvisser, okay. You know, I really appreciate your comments more than anything, because one of the things that I have observed, and I've said it over and over again, but I don't feel like I've ever really been heard when it comes to this, is that the team here has never been brought in or considered, or been part of the search process ever, that I have seen, never. I also do have a lot of heartburn over a 2-week turnaround, and I'll tell you why, because we were told, you said it, Madam Chair, and I think Mr. Charles Harris said it, that the only reason we got 2 search firms is because no one wanted to be in Reno. I take great offense to that. So what I want to say is, I think the team absolutely should be included. And I would say I am so happy to have new board members and a new set of eyes. I think we should listen to what they've seen. They've been on the outside looking in. I think that that's very valuable. And last but not least, I am vocal. So I'm not going to apologize for that, Mr. Chapman. I don't appreciate your constant disrespect for me and for women on this board. And I'm gonna just say it right now.
Mayor, I think that's good.
It's appropriate.
We have a motion
And I
and
don't
a
want to be
second.
quiet it.
I have
We have a motion.
I have my light on for these other people.
I'm sorry, Mr. Murdoch.
Bro. Insanity is doing the same thing. In the pre-board, I remember you were there. I said, you asked me what I thought. I said, absolutely need to open this back up. For a couple of reasons, because the system was flawed, the whole search was flawed to begin with. And we give 2-week notice to people to go find out. Yeah, I like the 2 firms. I'm not against anybody, but I think we really missed a lot of great opportunity with other firms. We just put in, you got this great team of staff and you're running and doing a great job. But we've only had a month since Charles, or not even that, since Charles was part. Look what you've are, things are, you're sailing along pretty dang good. I think, I like to just fix that. Like I say, I want to move on too. What's another 30 days? You've got, I know that the team was told to look for other, opportunities with other companies. Did you get anybody that wanted to talk about this?
There are 6 other interested firms that would like to bid if we were to open it back up.
So anyway, I really put that point up. I mean, you're gonna listen to staff, we're gonna listen to it, and I wanna move on too, but it seems like we've got a pretty competent team here. And what's 30 days to do the right thing? That's all.
Well, and I will, to that point, the 2 weeks, and I was thinking it was 3 or 4, and looking at the timeline again, 2 weeks was really quick. And when we put it out, we didn't know Charles was leaving June 30th. At that time, when the RFPs went out, we didn't know, and then all of a sudden we knew, and it made things a little bit more urgent. But at the time that we moved this or tabled it to move to the July meeting, and I stated at the time, we had 9 weeks. And there's not one board member who came to me and said, let's open it back up. I don't think the timeline was, there was not board sentiment directing me. That's
not true. I did. We had
to open it up again.
We had a phone.
To open it up again.
Yes, well, we did. We had that conversation.
I figured we had 9 weeks, and when the motion was made and we approved it, if we wanted to open up at that time, and we've sat here and waited 9 weeks, and here we are. And yeah, is it 30 days more? Is it 60 days more? And we definitely, we want to find the right CEO is the most important thing. I think both firms that presented today are both obviously super competent. We don't know of other firms that staff, and I asked staff to reach out because I wanted a backup. I wanted a backup if, not to start from zero. And I wanted to know we have a plan B if we needed it, but we don't know of those firms. Are they comparable to these or not? We don't know who's out there, what they can offer us. We know today, we know what the fees are, we know what the heard from both of them, what the background is. And I want to move forward because we're ready to lose a couple board members. I have a motion and a second to, do you want to restate the motion, or do we need to?
Sure, I just want to make sure, because I don't think Mr. Chapman accepted it. It would be a motion to select the winners group to give direction to the chair and legal to negotiate a contract and come back to the board with a contract and a timeline process for board approval.
Okay, that's a
What is
motion.
that plan for? Not for Susan.
Yes.
Madam Chair, is it, if we're still having the discussion about whether we should go back out to bid or not, can we table this motion to first determine whether or not a motion would be made and passed and have enough support to pass as to whether we go back out again?
We have a motion and a second on the floor that needs to be voted on. And then if it is not passed, Mr. East, to your point, I would ask for another motion and a second in discussion if that's where we want to go. So right now I have a motion and a second for winners. Mr. Chapman, were you good with the full stated motion?
Yes, I was. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, as a seconder, are you good with okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Maybe raise the hands. 2, 3, 4, Andy.
I'm an aye, Madam Chair.
We'll do roll call. Lisa, can you just do roll call? So we have it on the record. Yes.
Yeah.
Chairman Whitey,
Aye.
Mayor Sheedy,
No.
Mr. Squaga,
Yes.
Mr. Chapman,
Yes.
Mr. Eads,
No.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Mr. J,
No.
Mr. Murdoch.
No.
Yeah, Mr. Avatar.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
She's actually pushed.
My vote was yes.
Yes. You have 6. 6 leaves.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Sorry.
Five. We have 5, which is a quorum for tonight. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close that item and move on to item F. And I think this is Mr. McDonald. Review, discussion, and action to approve the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual business plan. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I'm McDonald, Senior Director of Communications and Public Affairs.
Sorry, guys, I gotta go. I have another meeting.
And I will be as quick as possible. So today we're presenting the annual business plan for current fiscal year 23-24. And this is based off of the 3-year strategic plan that the board approved in May of last year. This will be requested approval for the second year of this 3-year strategic plan. It incorporates the mission and values that were decided upon. At that time, last year, you can see those there. This has been before you for about a month. Unfortunately, the new members may have not had an opportunity, as much of an opportunity to make comments. We requested comments from the board up through July 10th. We did receive a few and made those changes based on board feedback. I do want to point out that some of these slides will be altered, so any approval would be with upcoming updates to June numbers as it relates to taxable room revenue, average daily rates, and cash occupied room nights, which were not finalized when we finished putting this together about a week ago. Looking at the key areas of focus here, we're looking at basically approving the strategic pillars, goals, initiatives, and measurables, specific actions that staff will be taking during this fiscal year under these pillars of sales and marketing, destination management, and destination alignment. And just to be clear, as you see on this page, which would be 16 on the right, under key initiatives where you see the group sales line, and then also the following line that
communicate to the RSCVA sales team, et cetera. Those are incorporated into the 3-year strategic plan. That's not specifically what we're voting on today. It is those lines shown as measurables that we can also, will be updating throughout the year at subsequent board meetings. The other page, obviously, that we will be updating as part of that motion would be the board members. Now that we know who our ninth board member is, welcome, Mr. Abelson. And with that, there's a lot of information in there. I don't want to, too much time going through everything. We're really focused on community engagement and primarily sales and marketing, as we have always been tasked to do. And those measurables are before you, and we're all happy to answer any questions. We welcome Ms. Black, senior staff project.
Thank you. And for the new board members, as Ben stated last year, we did a new 3-year strategic plan that was actually put on hold because of COVID. So we waited. When I first came on the board, I think it was June, maybe that upcoming year, put it on hold because it was hard to really tell in 2020 is when I arrived that what was going to happen. So last year we did get the full 3-year strategic plan, and then each of these are an annual plan. So this is year 2. We just completed the first year. This will be our second annual plan as part of the 3-year strategic plan, which is our roadmap. So for all of your departments, for us as an organization, gives us the roadmap on where we're going, what are, where we need to shift, which always, I think, strategic plan can be really fluid. It's not set in stone, it's a guidelines, and then we see how we go moving forward. Do I have, Mr. Squaga, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to confirm, when we talk about approving these measurables, this is not tied to goals, performance goal, and compensation and bonuses, is it?
Yes.
What we're accepting?
Yeah.
It
Yes.
is. So in
Mr. Loretta, can you answer
Yeah, Mike
that?
better get it for the record. So, Mr. Squaga, in the past, when these were presented by the CEO, those were the CEO goals. And so the majority of our goals by department roll up into the CEO goals. This is now being presented through the annual plan, correct?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
not only the CEO bonus, which is next on our agenda, but all of senior management's goals are under that. And their bonuses are reflected based on our measurables.
So if I can give an example from the sales department's perspective, the overall goal and the number that I presented and recommended in the annual plan, that would be my goal. And then a percent of that goal rolls up into the CO goals. That number also is a goal that I back into for the entire team of the sales organization on the group side.
I just don't know. I mean, there's zero discussion on how that number gets set. Are we assuming, I mean, actually, Mr. Ixie, that's, I don't know if you so much getting into this, but let me put it this way, in past experiences, if I was goal setting for bonuses, in private, I don't have that department set their goals and say, okay, whatever you think. Well, and don't get me wrong, I trust with a certain degree that, but you want stretch goals, right? You want things that are, you want to be fair to both. I want to be fair to the organization. I want to be fair to staff. I'm a little uncomfortable, just appreciate the run through, Mr. McDonald, but just to go, okay, we're good with it. I didn't know that these were tied to compensation. I thought it was tied, in concept. A lot of these are kind of, no offense, but fluff pieces, our strategic plan includes, it's the convention district, it's working on this, I get that. But if we're taking hard numbers and we're approving it, that this is gonna mean exponential bonus, I wanna almost hit pause, so I won't be supporting it in that fashion, so.
And I don't know if that would be Mike or Courtney on how you're looking at last year. Be right with you. You're looking at last year's numbers. How do you get to those numbers where we are? Because I have had board members, as we looked at some of these numbers preliminarily, that when we're hitting 160%, have we, to your point, have we done stretch goals? Or are we making it pretty easy to make our goals so that we all feel good? But then the fiscal,
So.
number that's on top of that, how do you get to those numbers? Do you have a formula, is it mathematical,
So-
formula that you're looking at, and Mike?
Yeah,
maybe
so
you can-
for sales, and if you recall, Madam Chair, I presented you with a document that was the backup supporting how I came to the number. So I don't know if that's up for discussion today, but basically what I do is I take all contributing factors that I can think of that impact a potential number moving forward for the next fiscal year related to group numbers. So I factored in the indoor track. I called every major hotel in the city and got their estimated budget numbers for 24 on their calendar year for the group segment. I factored in 2 new employees. I factored in that the number we hit this year was significantly over the prior year, but the majority of that was because of a cancellation in Cincinnati of moving the women's championship to Reno. So I take a lot of factors into consideration. The average growth in group sales in general for the country is 3 to 4% per year. The number that I came up with is 7%. So we're being aggressive from what the prior year was, but there's a lot of factors that go into that. Generally, that discussion is had with the CEO. The original number that was presented in the annual plan that was presented in the last budget, there was 0 discussion with the prior CEO. I don't know where that number came from. I don't know what was used, why it was used. I don't know. But I truly go through a pretty in-depth exercise of coming up with the number that I presented in the annual plan.
Did I just one follow-up?
Yeah, and then I'll.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping out of the term, but just. Is it critical that it has to be a yes or no vote today? Is this something that we could say, look, because I'm following what you're, I know there's reasoning, I know there's thought behind it. But I also think it'd be great to truly as a board to understand that's where you're going, because like you said, there's variables every, this is not going to be better. Molars aren't here, right? This aren't here. There's things that are so fluid. Every property's got different things on their books that you're collecting. But I'd love to have more in it, again, not in the 3rd hour of the meeting, but it would be great to be able to sit down and walk us through, arts group, your group,
marketing.
Yeah, I think it'd be
We
great.
have the backup, but
Anyway, I don't know if it has to be decided today or if this is
Okay.
something that can move.
So to that, and then I do want to get to Mr. Murdoch, Dan just commented, we've got probably a couple of options. A lot of that background information on how you all got there, so it's not just a number, and us realizing the fiscal implications of that number for bonuses we'll be paying out is important for the board to have more background, which even in a pre-board meeting, maybe we didn't cover. So we have a couple options. We could go to the executive committee, which will be meeting because we're starting a CEO search. So the executive committee could do that and bring it back to the board. We could bring it back with that information to our August board meeting. A couple of options I want to hear real quick from Mr. So think about that and let's see where we want to go. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you've got to walk out. Mr. Murdoch.
Mr. Largetta and the team done a great job. They did a great job coming back to us after we paid for that track. You all remember, we went back, did some deep dive. I kind of feel like, I know I trust them, but I'm with Stephen Esquaga. We want to understand this. I come from that side. So does he. So does Mike. And we understand what Mike's saying because we're hoteliers. But I'd like to table this and come back and get some more information and understand. And Mike will do it. I'm sure that the team will do it really quickly. I need education.
Do you want to, is your preference, I guess the preference would be, does it come back through the executive committee or do we simply ask for presentation at the August board meeting? With more background info that we would have and be able to talk in a pre-board. So you'd be pre-board information, you'd have the data before you walk into pre-board and we do it at the August meeting? Or do you want to go through the executive committee?
I don't mean to go, I like the full board idea. I think a lot of new members do, but honestly,
Okay.
I'm not a new member and I still need to get educated thoroughly.
I think you guys gotta be a whole,
Okay.
it's a process. We've got new board members. It's a process to really understand the taxation, everything about it.
Okay, so do we need, let me hear from Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to also point out, I did this recently in another board, and board members were bringing up initiatives that they wanted to see as part of the business plan, and I was very annoyed, and now I have initiatives that I want to bring as part of this business plan, so I don't want to do that to, derail the conversation, but because many of us weren't part of that strategic planning process, and there may be some other opportunities to ensure that, we're being responsive to the new board members, requests and kind of their vision for RSCVA. I'm wondering if we can also have that discussion as certainly moving ahead with a year business plan to follow the strategic plan, but is there an opportunity for this board to have that discussion again and see where we're aligned on some of these other approaches? Because what I found with the track, and then when I was not on this board, but when the microtrons that came to this board, they were one-offs, and there was annoyance by the board that was happening and they weren't planned, but it does seem like there's opportunities for the RSCVA to do investment within our community. And that's not really part of this discussion unless it's our own facility. So I just wanted to see if there's an opportunity down the line to also have that discussion, but I am with my fellow board members that perhaps would be ready to adopt this today.
And would that be part of amendment to the annual plan?
To incorporate the sort of other.
Well, and to your point, and maybe it's not the annual plan, but one of the things that I was looking for that I wanted to bring to the board is we don't have a community fund, not the marketing, not the community grants that we offer, but a community fund that allows us to do everything from opening the convention center like we just did for heat or for fires, or for one-offs, for things that are a need in the community that we want to be good community partners on. And we don't have like a separate fund outside of all the marketing and grants we give and the the new fund, the opportunity fund, still different. I'm looking for some type of community fund that might incorporate the kinds of things you're talking about that aren't every year, but give us the opportunity that when we feel the need to do something in the community as a board, we could decide that. So maybe that's a separate conversation.
Sure, and I don't want to, request that that's part of the business plan that has been decided and worked on by previous board members, but I do think that instead of those things coming, because I know the microtransit request is going to be coming to this board again, last minute that we decide, what do we really think about these things? Do we want to do these things? Are they part of our strategy? These investments. So that's the only discussion I think it would be appropriate to have down the line.
Have a strategic retreat.
See, I kind of feel like, like this request, so to say, is different than a community fund.
Right.
But I think this strategic document, right, is kind of a breathing, evolving thing.
Okay.
Which is, to me, again, different than what we're asked to approve like this.
So let's look at that in consideration and whether we want to do a board retreat or a strategic retreat that might address some of these things and directions we want to go.
That would be
And
worthwhile
actually,
with all the new board members.
and a board retreat with 3 brand new board members. And as we're looking for a new CEO, really a board retreat that would incorporate that and kind of how we're working and what our priorities are, that we're going to need to find too, our priorities for finding a new CEO, as well as how we all work together as a board is would be a really good idea to look at a board retreat. And we could knock several things at the same time. So do you want to make a motion?
How we fund is the most important, how you get your funds. And I
Yeah.
think the new board members really need to understand the tax base and how it all flows. And tourism is the #1 economy in Nevada, so.
Yeah. Do you have a motion that you'd like to make on moving this or tabling it for the next meeting, or Mr. Squaga?
A second, Steve.
Either do,
I'll make a
Stephen,
motion to table it to next meeting.
to the next board meeting in August.
In August.
Okay, then I have a second, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, please vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And
Thank
can I
you.
make one quick comment just on the
Yeah,
process?
absolutely.
So certainly this is the second year, right, for the strategic plan.
So if we wanted to go back in and, revamp some of that 3-year plan, we could do that. That'd have to be a separate item as far as, changing that direction. Or if we want to do a whole new plan, I mean, that's entirely up to the appetite of the board. That process would start anyway at the start of the next fiscal year, next July. We'd be looking at starting to produce a new longer term, 3 to 5 year, whatever your appetite is, strategic plan. So that's definitely all on the table still.
Okay,
Right,
thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Pam. Okay, I'm gonna close item F3, F2, crossed the wrong line. We're on to F3, final action item, review discussion, possible action regarding former RSCVA President and CEO, Mr. Charles Harris's goals and objectives for fiscal year 2022, 2023. Molly, I'm gonna let you address the board, and I know you all received, hopefully you all received the documentation that Molly sent us on this agenda.
Sure, and as part of your packet, there is a memorandum about this. As you know, Mr. Harris worked through the end of his fiscal year. His CEO bonus calculations are done based upon his employment agreement and also was revisited at the time that the board entered into the separation agreement with Mr. Harris. And it was reiterated that he would be eligible for a bonus for the fiscal year that he worked, which was fiscal year 22-23. And as part of that review, in your packet, there are 2 different attachments. The first attachment lists what his goals were and the numerical achievements or results of those as given by staff. And then exhibit B, there are 2 goals that were not to be determined numerically in that very objective basis. And therefore, Mr. Harris has submitted his reasons why he believes he attained those goals for your consideration and discussion. And I'm here for any questions.
Okay. Do I have any questions?
I think just for clarification.
That's okay.
Just for clarification, I know that the numbers aren't officially closed. But we have done this in the past when we are at a number that, right, we've already surpassed the goal. There's a certain chance, right, even if there's a variable, those numbers are hit. And we've done this in the past.
Correct. So bonuses are paid at the end of the fiscal year on those preliminary numbers, and Ms. Jager can add to this. The books aren't finalized for at least 60 days, and then there's an audit procedure. So I mean, it could be 6 months before you've got full, final, complete numbers. We've never waited on the bonuses, and I think there's a level of confidence that where those numbers are today, they're not going to change to a degree that's going to impact the bonus calculation.
Any other questions? If not, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. I think this also puts it in this much more granularity of our search firm coming in. As a board, we all need to really get on the front end of these agreements, but I think in pertaining to this, I think we're contracted. I also think there's a moral obligation that Mr. Harris filled his side of the obligation, and I'll move to approve the compensation package of the bonus number.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second by Mr. Murdock.
So just to clarify, so I think the motion is to approve an award of the bonus to Mr. Harris in the amount of $111,998.70.
Correct.
Okay, and are you good with the motion? I have a motion.
Yeah.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item G, board member announcements, reports, and updates. Other than, let's see, National Bowling Day, we have Aces game on August 8th that we're all invited to. Please let Mr. Largetta know if you have any, you've got the list of all of his traveling, if anybody wants to travel and see what the sales team is doing when they're out there on the road. And we've discussed things that, whether it's fam trips or things happening in town, I've asked him to keep us apprised Because if we're available and we want to go to, you know, meet and greet or something that's happening locally, I mean, it's really good for us as board members to meet who our customers are and clients are, and them to meet us as well, to keep us engaged. So, any other board member updates? Ms. Grant, Alisar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To that point, I know I'm new, so I'm expecting perhaps some updates from staff on some of those events. That'll be coming up. I know there's other new members, but I'm at the.
Yeah, we'll get you the full item. And there was one item that I did not address, that you have a venue monthly report, that I was given that is like incredible. It's through May. So again, we don't have the numbers through the end of the year. But Renee provided this in my meeting with staff the other day, and you guys will be real, I mean, I was super excited to look at where, you know, our goal has been to try to make our venues busier, to make sure they're filled, that they're not sitting there empty. And that because when I came on, before I came on this board, I mean, some years were $7 million negative cash flow for our venues. And so really, how do we, I think the team, Renee, thank you, Trent, I mean, amazing numbers in here of where we're going, and we'll only continue to move forward to get our venues booked. With that does come expenses. So the cost for additional staffing, for maintenance, for the use of the facilities, you know, does go up, but if we're utilizing them is really the key. And I think these numbers, I asked her to share them with all of you, because I think these are the kind of things that are really interested in seeing the success once again of one more department and what the work that they're doing. So any other comments? Mr. J.
You want to go first? I know you had, you.
And then Mr. Murray. I
No,
I
no,
couldn't tell you to do it first. So
Rick, go ahead.
go, Rick.
No. I just wanted to give a quick airport update. For us, halfway through the ticketing counter expansion, moving forward on time and on budget.
Yay.
New board members, Kitty Jung and Joel Grace representing City of Reno, Courtney Young representing Washoe County. New officer Carol Chapler is chair. I'll be vice chair again. Jennifer Cunningham's treasurer and Adam Kramer secretary. Board did approve on June 30th to move forward with Contract Solutions rental car. We've got what we feel is a little more robust contract that gives us the opportunity to make an equity interest and some other options in there. Loop Road remodel started this week, so, you know, fire coordinating out there. Passenger numbers hit the highest record since 2008. For the first 6 months, we're at 2.18 million. That's a 3.6% increase from pre-COVID. New art program, 1% of all of our construction projects will go into art. We just will be installing in the new ticketing counter a 400-foot mural, which is going to be fantastic. It's going to be right above the wall. Had over 60 proposals in for this, selected a lady out of Florida who's done this before, and it kind of will depict our region. So it's really good. And then the last one, and this might be something we want to consider. In 2019, we had Junior Rumor from EK Economic Consultants come and give a presentation. Presentation at that time was looming recession, national and regional outlook. So we're reaching out to see if she wants to do it again. It might be something for us to look at, because what do we have looming right now? Possibility of a recession. The Federal Reserve make a rate increase yesterday. It'll probably be the last one. Little bit more studies coming out showing maybe we won't have as bad a recession as what we thought. And the Federal Reserve certainly has the toolbox now to create that soft landing. So it might be something for us to look at, just get an economic look at, are we going to have recession? And if we do, what does it look like on the national level? What does it look like on the local level? And I think that'd be really good for us, kind of putting our numbers together. So with that, that's it.
Richard, did you say that you had the presentation already, or you're going?
We had it in 2019.
Oh, got it.
And at that time, it was the looming recession. But I think 4 years later, we're back at the same spot, and I think it'd be a good idea for the airport, and maybe even us,
Yes.
to get an update.
Maybe
Is it something we could do joint with a couple of,
And that might not be a
couple of
bad idea either.
partners in the community?
Yeah, we did.
That might be,
We got the new CEO there, so maybe we collaborate with all three of us and do that. But I just think information like that would be so valuable for you and your staff. Absolutely. And helping us. What are we looking at? I don't personally think, and being an economist myself, I don't think we're gonna have that hard of a recession in Northern Nevada because we have so much going on. Construction, casino, this, the airport expansion, school expansion. So I think our recession up here is gonna be fairly light if we do go into one. Because technically, we had one last year, Q1, Q2 for last year were negative. So in all definition, that is a recession. So.
Thank you. Mr. Murdock.
Couple things. I'd like to thank staff on the rodeo. Great job with your team. Unbelievable out there for the rodeo. Hopefully, we should do more rodeo events and help pay for it out there. They are wonderful, and you guys, wonderful job. Secondly, staff on bowling stadium. I would think it would behoove you guys to bring back for the new board members, the economic impacts and the room nights and how it all works, part of the whole process again. But these, when you're dealing with the rodeo, one of the biggest events in our community, and bowling, one of the biggest conventions you have out here, it would be neat to really educate everybody on what they did economically as soon as possible, because they just finished and we've had a good run and appreciate it. And the team did a great job in the bowling stadium. Thank you.
And actually, to that end, I'm gonna update for those of you who don't know, our August board meeting is at the National Bowling Stadium. So all of you will get an opportunity to actually go inside. Brent said we're going right down the main bowling lane, back into the squad room is where our meeting will be. And then we have, his chef from Aramark will be there to give like a little demonstration, and that's a chance to meet her. And, we'll be in Kingpin after the business part of the meeting, for a little bit of bowling. So, you know, we'll try to do a quick, maybe one game, see what people's time is like, but something that would be social and fun and a great team building thing. But I think most importantly, going to our venues so that some of us have been in them, some haven't been in a while. And I think being at the bowling stadium especially, and I was there for, and watched bowling on a Saturday afternoon when it was 107 outside. I was in the bowling stadium, which was awesome. And the amount of bowlers there and the people we met, it was really an amazing experience, just overall. So anyway, that being said, we are